The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday, July 29th, 2021 meeting of the Humboldt County Planning Commission, special meeting of Humboldt County Planning Commission. And as usual, in accordance with Executive Order N-29-20, the Planning Commission meeting will be held virtually. Go to the county website and get directions on how to join us. With that, I will call the meeting to order and ask you all to please join me in a salute to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Laura, could we have a roll call, please?
Alan Bongio.
Here.
Thomas Mulder.
Here.
Noah Levy.
Here.
Mike Newman.
Present.
Peggy O'Neill.
Here.
Brian Mitchell.
Present.
Melanie McCaver.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have a full house. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Cliff, as our director tonight. Do you have any modifications for us?
We have no modifications. We do have two supplementals that were carried over from July 15th. And so those were provided as supplementals on July 15th on items 10 and 11. And then we do have public comment that was submitted on items 11 and 13, and two public comment letters that were submitted regarding all of the cannabis projects on the agenda tonight.
All right. Thank you, Cliff. Now we will go to public comment, and that's where anybody can speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. So I see three hands up. The first one, Vicente Rodriguez. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vicente. *6 to unmute yourself. Okay. Go ahead. Vicente.
No quería hacer ninguna pregunta. No escucho nada de lo que hablan, no sé nada de lo que dicen.
Go ahead, Vicente. I can hear you there. Okay, we're going to move on to the next caller, which is 7454.
Alan, can you hear me?
Yes.
So that wasn't me on the other phone, just for people. Anyway, I did wish to speak, and with a great amount of anxiety tonight. I do not like being misinformed, and that's a nice way of putting it. I wish you folks to understand, and hopefully you'll get clarity from Cliff there, the way I've been getting clarity and speaking to staff on this topic. But it's quite apparent that certain parts of the permits you will have on tonight and other permits you've had in the past did not have CEQA review. And I don't know if I think some of you understand CEQA quite a bit, but would it bother you if some of the highest use of your energy, some of the most negative parts of the permitting process were pulled out because they would not pass CEQA? And that would be, the primary one is your ancillary uses, which we talked about last meeting. The term might have been mentioned, but in communication with staff, it was not mentioned whether any of that was permissible, if any of it was CEQA reviewed. And I think you guys have been possibly thrown under the bus. Either that or you're complicit to something that's probably going to hit the fan here as far as environmental review. So I think every single permit you have tonight has an ancillary use. And like I said, a lot of them require generators. Your ancillary uses, and Mr. Mulder, of course, can confirm or deny this, and he's entitled to make a comment afterwards, does use power, as a lot of people use it. My understanding is at a nursery permit, you cannot transfer any nursery or ancillary product from one permitted area to another, and yet it's very common out there that you see that happening without any CEQA review. So this is a lot of our objection. Your big generators are frequently used to go ahead and run these rather large ancillary things, full power, whatever it is, 18 hours worth of power for those young plants to broom them up as fast as you can, and then they're moved to these other places. So if you folks were aware of that, then I would have to say shame, shame, shame for doing it without CEQA review. If you're not aware of it, then I think you should be aware of it, and you should delve into this, because this won't go away, and our concerns about this won't go away. And this is one of the biggest impacts as far as this kind of makes what Maxam did look small. And for anybody who's an environmentalist, I guess that it should be irritating to you folks. But we'll find out here. We're going to have an interesting meeting, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on these topics.
Thank you, Kent. Next caller is Hal Lakoff and George Truitt. Star 6.
Yes. Can you hear me, Commissioner?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Commissioners, Director and staff, and members of the public. I'm George Truitt. Look to history to avoid being condemned to repeat it. We, the people, have brought wave after wave of destruction and depletion to our beautiful county. The gold rush brought a tidal wave of genocide and environmental destruction, as exemplified by the history of our Native American neighbors in the Hoopa Valley. The green rush of logging and the rush to fish at our streams, the land rush of homesteaders who have sucked our streams dry, of whom I am one, have systematically, with government assistance, inflicted fatal wounds on our environment. And now it's the cannabis green rush for gold that will destroy our environment because of unenforced, ill-thought regulations that result in the destructive practices that your granting of permits, not carefully vetted, is allowing. So where does your responsibility as public servants lie? I suggest it is not morally or ethically proper to continue your pattern that ignores quality of life, which religions and philosophies teach does not depend on material satisfaction. I ask you to value the good of family and neighborhood life and the stewardship of this earth over the disruptive desire for wealth and acclaim. If you assert that the planning department is inundated with work, it is your responsibility to lead forcefully as advocates for change that supports the staff. If, as the director has indicated, there are growers who have illegal practices, please step up and advocate for your children's futures. You are currently approving plans for mining the country's resources, its land, its water, its wildlife, and its forests. 2 weeks ago, you discussed plans related to cell phone towers as part of the march of progress, at best a dubious concept. Commissioners seem to vaguely entertain, then drop the idea that a verified survey of residents should occur. Your actions suggest that you believe you are trapped on a narrow and twisting regulatory path. Your actions suggest that revenue for the county and, in the case of cannabis permits, revenue for the growers dominate your thinking. I can only suggest that you break through this restraint and seek the freedom of serving the public good and the people of this great county. I would ask you to redouble your efforts to adhere to our county's mission statement and core values and be, quote, committed to meeting the needs and addressing the concerns of the community and enhancing the quality of life, unquote. Thank you so much.
Alan, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Next caller, 7108, please.
Hi, this
Thanks,
is
Mike.
Bonnie Blackberry. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Bonnie.
Okay. I wanted to make a general comment on tonight's agenda. The fact that there's 11 cannabis permits on there, and all but one is down here in southern Humboldt. Just for your own information, it's like 103 degrees down here this time of day. Anyway, Of the 11 permits, 7 plan on using well water with no forbearance requirement, and 3 plan to use pond water. The 4 applications in the Alder Point area propose to use approximately 825,600 gallons of well water and only have storage for approximately 132,600 gallons. The 3 applications in the Dinsmore-Bridgeville area propose to use approximately 662,000 gallons of well water with only approximately 173,900 gallons storage capacity. On July 20th, the County Board of Supervisors proclaimed a local drought emergency. And in the report that came from the drought force, it said the highly variable geologic and hydrologic conditions within Humboldt County make it difficult to know without comprehensive testing the impact of continued well pumping. There is no comprehensive data or understanding of the capacity of upper reaches and headwaters of our watersheds to support continued well pumping. And also regarding these permits, all 11 of them, there's approximately 26,000 square feet of, quote, propagation area under consideration that is not included in the cannabis cultivation area. And there is approximately 12 generators associated with these permits. Information regarding the amount of rainfall, the location in the watershed, as well as the geologic and hydrologic conditions.
30 seconds, Bonnie. I think we just lost her. You there, Bonnie?
Sounds like she got disconnected.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I heard something too.
She was following her letter that we received.
Yeah. And
Hi.
Oh, there she is.
Okay, you're gonna have to wrap it up, Bonnie.
Okay. I did send in as attachment the drought task force report. I hope people have time to read it. And
We saw it.
also, please consider the impacts of your decisions as we move deeper into the drought. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any other callers that would like to speak on public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment.
Alan,
Yes.
can I ask something?
Go ahead.
That first one that was there, are they still around or what?
I don't see him. No, Vicent. Yeah, I don't see it in there though.
I just want to make
He didn't put his
sure.
hand back up, so. But there is a hand up, and you kind of cut me off in the middle of closing it. So I'm going to allow Mr. Lamont to speak, and then I'm going to close the public comment after that. So Charles Lamont, you'd like to speak?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I have a house in Ruby Valley. I don't live there. I lived there in 1976 and helped found the Ruby Valley Mutual Water Company at the request of a lawyer friend of mine. We're about 11 houses, and we've had just, unofficial fly-by-night pot grows. Just one small grower can take our water out, and that's happened, and it was dealt with. But I just have to say that it doesn't matter whether it's marijuana or if it's a housing development with lots of grass and swimming pools. I don't know if that's when I lived in Humboldt County, they were talking about 20-acre minimum residential parcels, and I don't know enough current information to know if that's the case today. But it just seems like really bad timing on the part of the folks that want to go into this business, and it isn't so much that it's marijuana is that it's water. You know, it's just very simple that it's water, and it seems like a resource that's in scarcity, and that is being demonstrated to us in a way as a country, the United States, in the western half of the country, that we need all the water we need for really basic stuff. And it seems to me to be less of a priority than having drinking water, and it can only take water out. It seems to be in concept pretty fairly conceived, and it isn't a tremendous amount of water, but why would it be the last one if this one is granted? It sets a precedent. So that's pretty much what I have to say.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right. With that, I will close the public comment. And before we get going on continued public hearings, I would like to ask County Council a couple of questions. Now, we asked if they would be present, and I see Natalie's. So welcome, Natalie. One of the questions I have is, in the last meeting, we had one person poll, I believe, all but one of the items that were on the agenda. That person then left the meeting. And we never got to them because we ran out of time. But the point being is they just left the meeting. They're not here tonight. And we have all these items that were pulled because of one individual. So that's my question with that is, can we re-ask the question of basically like these were on consent and see if there's still public concern or commissioner concern to have all these items pulled, or maybe you'll eliminate some of them and they would go on a consent vote. So that's the second point. And then the biggest question I have is there a way, I know the supervisors, I'm kind of rambling here because I'm not sure exactly how to ask this question, but the supervisors, if you want to get asked on public comment, you have to go through the supervisor to get it put on, to have public allowed to talk about it. Could we do something like that so we're not getting hijacked every meeting by just getting these items pulled because people know that it'll delay the process? Do we have to have public comment on everything? I believe in public comment. I'm not trying to not have it, but it's ridiculous what's been going on. And is there a way that we can get around that? I guess that's my question.
Thank you, Chair Bongio, for the questions. With respect to tonight's agenda, in looking at the agenda, since we don't have the consent calendar posted on there, what I would suggest doing is still going through like you normally would to see if there's someone who wants to comment on each item. And if there are ones where that no one wants to comment, to call it, open the public hearing, close the public hearing without a staff report, and have a vote. Move on. That way, hopefully, you can go through some of those quickly. With respect to the second part of your question, which is the more complicated part, I did look into that question earlier this week, and our code does call for public hearings in most of the situations where the items are brought here. We, have the notification that if no one wishes to comment, they will be approved on the consent agenda, or but there is a requirement of the public hearing. I think it does bear looking into ways where we could, if someone isn't pulling the matter with a genuine desire to comment, I think that does bear looking into, and I would be happy to research that further to see if there's any way to address it. We still need to have the right, the public hearing still needs to occur, so it's balancing those interests.
I fully agree. But it's being abused, and so and what it's doing is costing a lot of staff time and commissioners' time. I mean, this is a special meeting for items that the person who pulled them, as far as I can see, is not on our guests tonight. which to me is troubling. You know, if it was important enough to pull 17 or so items, I didn't apologize for not having the exact number, but they should at least show up for the meeting. So it seems to me there needs to be a way around it. And I'm not sure what that is, so that's why I'm asking you to look into it.
I'd be happy to do that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So with that, we will move into continued public hearings. And the first one is Seaside Ranch LLC. And so I will ask the question, is there concerns from either the commission or from the public to have this one go, have a staff, give a staff report and go through the whole procedure, or is this one okay? And we move on. We take a vote on it. I'm not seeing any hands up on the attendees, and I'm not seeing any hands on panelists. So that being said, would anybody like to make a motion to accept Seaside Ranch LLC in the Shelter Cove area?
I would move approval of Seaside Ranch LLC in the Shelter Cove area.
Thank you, Noah. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion on the motion in a second? I think not. Okay, Laura, roll call vote, please.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Motion carries unanimous. All right, item number 2. The Humboldt Cure Incorporated in the Alder Point area. Is there anybody who wishes to have this item pulled? I see hands going up on the attendees side, so this item will be pulled, and I would ask for a staff report, please.
Hello, Commissioners. Can you see my PowerPoint okay?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Mag Stilkin. I'm here to present the Humboldt Pier conditional use permit and special permit. The proposed project is a conditional use permit for 15,500 square feet of existing cultivation, of which 6,000 square feet is using light deprivation and 9,500 is using mixed light cultivation technique. The special permit is for development within the streamside management area to allow for continued use of a 1,344 square foot structure used for drying and bucking, in addition to culvert improvements requested on site. Processing operations, including drying, trimming, and packaging, is proposed within a 2-story, 4,800 square foot building on site. Power is sourced from a generator, which is to be replaced by a PG&E ag drop, which is in process currently. The subject parcel is site plan provided to you, and attachment 3 as well, or the maps attachment, showing an aerial image of the 2 cultivation areas on the subject parcel. Cultivation area 1 containing 6,000 square feet of light deprivation and 4,470 square feet of mixed light, whereas cultivation area 2, that lower area with the 4 vertical greenhouses there containing 4,797 square feet of mixed light cultivation, all of which are raised beds within greenhouses, utilizing no more than 6 watts per square foot of supplemental lighting. And for tonight, that actually concludes my presentation.
All right. Thank you, Max. Does any of the commissioners have any questions for Max? I see one hand up. Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, 2 quick questions. Thanks, Max, for the presentation. One is that in the executive summary of the staff report, since we were just talking this last time about the amount of wattage per square foot, I had it in mind that the average we're looking for here is under 0.6 watts per square foot. And it says in the staff report that it's limited to 6 watts per square foot. I just wanted to check that that is an error, and that, or that otherwise I'm misunderstanding it by a factor of 10. Should it be limited to 0.6 watts per square foot, or is it 6 watts per square foot?
Yeah, great question, Mr. Levy. I believe that it is limited to 6 watts per square foot. This is for the mixed light cultivation activities, not for ancillary nursery propagation.
Okay, sorry, then I am mixing up apples and oranges, and that is for the mixed light level. Okay, that does make sense. And the other question I had concerns your staff report described the extensive work that does ideally need to be done on the road, on the commonly shared public road to reach this property, and mentioned that there's like a 1.5 million project that would be designated to fix Rancho Sequoia Road through a road maintenance organization or agreement. It wasn't clear, does that road maintenance organization exist? Are we, and what exactly is the applicant's obligation towards that road in the absence of a road maintenance organization?
Again, great question. The Road Maintenance Association does in fact already exist. It does have manager and other managing titles within it. It is known as the Rancho Sequoia Road Association specifically. The applicant himself is actually the manager of the Road Maintenance Association. However, should the applicant not contribute to the Road Maintenance Association and do their fair share, they are actually required as a condition of approval to still provide correct monetary involvement per their share of their section of the road. If not, of course, then they would be out of line with the conditions of this permit.
Okay, thank you. That does clarify it for me, and I appreciate the explanation.
No, any other questions for staff?
I have a question. On the well, can you describe the production capacity of that well? Talks about how deep it is, but it doesn't talk about how much water it produces. And it says that it's likely to be hydrologically disconnected, but it doesn't talk about how much water does it produce.
That's a good question. I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can go ahead and dig for that right now for you. I do know that it was evaluated to be able to maintain the needs and is currently able to maintain the needs as proposed for the project, as this is an existing cultivation site that has been existing and monitoring their water use.
Well, it just seems like, if people are going to say that a well can produce the resources that they need, that they should at least include the production capacity, so that we could determine if that's accurate, or if the size of their grow areas exceed their ability. I mean, I didn't know it was already being developed, but we are in a drought, and I think that that's, back to what the discussion was earlier, I don't think people are just arbitrarily pulling these. I think they're pulling them out of genuine concern because of capacity of water and how it might impact others in the area and wildlife in the area. So I think we should be really drilling down on that. I know before we talked about the drought, we were told that the county was dealing with that situation, and they have since dealt with it and come up with a decision to do a declaration, but no one has got back to us on how that impacts our ability to continue to approve these applications.
Anybody else before I open this for public comment? All right, seeing that, I will now open the public comment, and the first caller is 7108, Bonnie. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Okay. My problem with this one is the proposed use of 191,813 gallons of water with only 33,000 gallons for storage. That means they're going to be pumping all through this drought, and it's likely disconnected. I question, how knowledgeable the people that made that determination, and just the happen to use these generators when it's really, really hot, and the 1,680 feet for propagation that is not included in the cultivation area calculations, which I think is a problem. Those are my issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Kent, 7454. There, Kent?
Hello, Kent Sawatsky here. I recommend that you table this and send this back to staff for further consideration. I will make objection to any permit you have here, which I said all of them have ancillary propagation because you have not done CEQA regarding this particular use, which happens to come in just a little over 10% of the project size for ancillary with no CEQA review. My understanding is you have a proposed two-story, 40,800 square foot building on site for packaging and trimming, which, as far as I can tell, has had no CEQA review. And you're bundling this into a project where the CEQA review is only for the actual project of the 15,500 square foot of cannabis. I'm just trying to be quite direct with you folks. I've been on the phone with some very powerful attorneys, and I think some of you know their names, and they're willing to move forward on this because you cannot approve anything that has not had your CEQA review. Power is provided by the generator replaced by PG&E agricultural drop. I don't see here when that's to happen, and we've heard continual testimony that to get PG&E in here is, and they say it's in process, but it's not done. So obviously the project should be it should be dropped totally. You have a special permit within the stream site management, SIMA, to allow continual use of 1,344 square feet. That's what this whole thing for dry and bucket was supposed to eliminate. And yet you're allowing that to happen with no CEQA review. And I hate to have to be a broken record here, but until these projects actually deal with all the CEQA implications, the cumulative effects, until the county probably spends $20 million to assess the water, which is probably what I've been told it will cost throughout the county. As far as, and again, what Bonnie said there, possibly is hydro. We don't deal in possiblies. We deal in definitive things when it comes down to permits, and to move forward with a possibly thing without having a determination by a hydrologist or I've given examples on how to witch a well. I can tell whether that's hydrologically connected. And probably 50% of you people, from what I've seen, also can witch a well and tell whether something's hydrological. Be happy to go in that. In fact, I have probably 11 more projects here, and we will go into that as far as how you can tell whether something's hydrologically connected. And so I highly recommend that you send this back to staff There's way too many questions, and there's way too much CEQA that has not been done in this process. And I think all the other permits that you're about to deal with is in the same category. So I do want to make notice, if you want to see actually what ancillary is required, go to project number 5, where less than 1% of the 13,000 square foot is required for ancillary, 120 square feet. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Kent. Next caller is David Nicoletti, B.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, David.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to answer the question from Commissioner O'Neill. The well report, I'm the civil engineer on the project. The well report that was developed by Bushnell Enterprises shows 10 gallons per minute is what the capacity of that well is. And just regarding the hydrologic connectivity of that well, the hydrologic connectivity of that well was evaluated in conjunction with CDFW, the water board, and the LSA that was obtained, as well as the fact that there was no SIUR that was required for this well. It was determined by the state that that well was not hydrologically connected for those reasons. And basically the well is significantly higher up than the actual water course. And so that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Anybody else that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will close the pub. Oh wait, there's one more coming. 7429. Go ahead. Star 6.
Hi. This is Roby Tenorio, and I'm sorry I missed earlier. I would have gotten through if I could have. I was messing up on the numbers on my part. But one thing that does come up is this well issue of it not being analyzed. And I sent in comments to you, and I hope you all saw that press release from the University of California Extension. And I really am calling to say I really appreciate that you are bringing up, the commissioner brought up the worry of the hydrological connection and whether there's been any monitoring of the production. So I do hope you'll take these things very seriously. And I'm not sure that PG&E is able to give a will serve letter. I would look into that because they will be then forced to run their generator until they are eventually, who knows how long in the future, served by PG&E. That should be a question that should be asked. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. With that, let's see. David Nicoletti has his hand back up. I'm gonna, because he's with the applicant, I'm gonna let him speak one more time, but this will be the last time.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Commissioner. So one thing about the PG&E application, I've been coordinating with PG&E. PG&E is ready to install the services right now. As a matter of fact, they were ready to install the service approximately a month and a half ago. The issue was we need to get this cannabis permit so we could permit a structure that we could tie the electric service to. And that's basically what we're waiting on, and that's direction from the county.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, with that, I'm going to close the public comment and bring it back to the commission. So, does the commission have any other questions or thoughts on where to go with this one? Mike, you first, then Melanie.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the PG&E and Mr. Nicoletti's remarks there brought up a quick question by me, which was where in the report, because I'm trying to look through it right now, is there another structure to be built?
Yes,
Okay.
it is
Cliff would
the,
like,
if that's a question to me.
Go ahead, Max.
Yes, the proposed 4,800 square foot building for processing, drying, and trimming. I believe that would be the ancillary building that would be needing power from PG&E.
Thank you. Is that it, Mike? Okay, Melanie?
Yes, I'm just trying to find it here in the report. Can it be pointed out to me?
Can you tell them where it is, Max?
Sure. It is located in the first project description, and then again repeated in the executive summary in the second paragraph. I believe it is after the third comma there, with the will occur in a proposed 2-story, 4,800 square foot prefabricated metal building. I apologize. It is also located in the second paragraph in the executive summary. It is after the third comma there that we discussed the implementation of a prefabricated metal building that is 2 stories, totaling 4,800 square feet. The actual footprint, I believe, is 2,400 square feet for the actual footprint, but we're including both stories in that square foot allotment.
And is it in the recommended conditions of approval? Where would that be? That's where I'm looking.
Through the chair, Megan Ryan, Lake and Associates, the description of the building is included in the resolution. The conditions of approval require permits be obtained from the building department prior to construction of the building.
So if the building, if the building is the location that the PG&E is going to, and the building's not there already, so the generator's being used for something else, is the generator going to be removed from the project site and replaced with PG&E? Is that part of the conditions?
That, if it is not clear in the conditions, that can be made a condition. If it's in the operations plan, the applicant is to adhere to the operations plan as stated. And so that is the understanding of their project description. They're going to replace the generators with PG&E.
Through the chair, if I could just try to clarify also, is that, there is this proposed building. There is also the existing mixed light cultivation, which obviously uses some power. And the applicant is not able to obtain building permits for any of those structures, including the existing greenhouses, until this permit, and unless this permit is approved. PG&E will not provide power unless there is an approved building permit on file. And so that's really, as Mr. Nicoletti mentioned, the holdup here in moving to PG&E is that they cannot do that until a permit is approved that would then enable them to get the building permits issued.
I think that's well understood, but we're trying to confer whether or not the generator will be removed and replaced by PG&E for all of the needs on the site, all the power needs, or will it just be to the new building and they'll continue to use the generator for the existing uses that they're using it for now? That's the question I have. I understand that you have to have a building and a permit and all that for PG&E, and I have seen them take them to sites that don't have structures before, but are they going to remove the generator? Because I know there's concern about the fire hazard emissions from the generators.
Through the chair, on page 42 of the staff report, it's section 3.5 of the operations plan entitled Energy and Generator Use. The operations plan states there will be a backup generator at the processing facility and a backup generator at the cultivation area. So we could add a condition to require removal of them if they're not allowed backup use. But according to their cultivations plan as it stands now, they would have 2 generators on site for backup use only.
They're not backup if there's no power to that site. They would become the primary for those locations if the power is not designed to go to all of the locations where power is needed. A backup would only be necessary if the power went out from PG&E and then you flip on your generator. But if you don't take the power to all the locations in the first place, it's the primary power to those.
In that same section, it says the client has been approved by PG&E for 2 new services. One will be a 400 amp for agricultural service, and one will be a 200 amp service for the processing facility.
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner O'Neill, if I could just clarify once again, the project description and what is asking for approval tonight is that PG&E would provide power for the entirety of this operation with the exception of backup if PG&E goes out. And so if the generators were somehow to be used in place of PG&E for any of this operation, that would be a violation of the permit. Should it be approved?
Okay, that was an answer to my question because the rest of it was kind of iffy.
All right. Melanie, you've been patient. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit of perspective regarding the water use. We're all concerned with the water use. However, it's been raised that this seems to be using more water. So, the average household, ignoring agriculture, where of course alfalfa is using the most, just a normal average household in California is using about 31,000 gallons of water a year. So this would represent about 6 homes use, and it's for an agricultural activity with the associated economic value. Having said that, in the last few weeks, we did add a few conditions in terms of rainwater catchment where they were using higher amounts of water but did not have plans for that. So I was wondering if we could ask the applicant if they had any plans for a rainwater catchment, or perhaps the staff might have an answer to that. And also, I just wanted to see how other commissioners felt about that. Thanks, that's it.
Melanie, would you like to take that clip, or I thought you looked up at me, that's why.
Well, I think we could certainly add a condition to have them develop some rainwater catchment. One of the things about this project is it is relying on both the well and a point of diversion that would then be obviously forbeared upon during the forbearance period. But a condition of approval could be added to require a certain percentage of that to be rainwater catchment. That's very, we could certainly come up with some language.
Okay, thanks.
Brian, you've had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's sort of been alleged, or not sort of, it has been alleged that there have been issues with our environmental impact reports with regards to ignoring impacts from propagation areas. And I just was hoping that County Council could speak to whether or not this is something that they perceive to be an issue, and how should we view this project in light of those comments from the public? Thank you.
Through the chair, Commissioner Mitchell and council can also, weigh in on this as well. But one of the things that I think is important to understand is that the CEQA analysis that's being prepared or has been prepared and being considered for this project is an addendum under CEQA. It's an addendum to the mitigated negative declaration that was done for the cannabis ordinance, the first cannabis ordinance. And so the addendum itself is an analysis that is reviewing the project in front of you, which is the existing cultivation, the entirety of the project, which includes the propagation. And so the assertion that that hasn't been reviewed under CEQA, I think, is not completely accurate. We have analyzed the propagation facility for water use, power, and any other impacts that it would have. And that's included in the CEQA discussion that's in front of the commission tonight in the addendum.
That answer your question, Brian?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Thomas Mulder, you've been waiting.
So I'm new at the CEQA thing, but I've been sitting here Googling stuff while everyone's been talking. And from what I'm finding, and obviously I'm not an attorney or a specialist or anything like that, but there's exemptions from CEQA when it comes to accessory structures and things like that. And it said the floor area as large as 10,000 square feet is exempt if it meets the land use designation. With even TPZ, technically you can do agricultural purposes on TPZ. So I'm just throwing that out there. On top of that, a lot of these projects that are using accessory propagation areas have since closed up indoor operations that were also projects on the site, and especially on TPZ, they can't legally operate those, so they've closed those up. And lastly, I'm telling you, every time we over-regulate and over-condition a project, you're pumping 40 lights out in the woods. So that's just something to think about in consideration. As far as the rainwater condition of approval, I think if that was something that was put out there, it would need to give the applicant 1 to 2 years upon completion of maybe that new processing building. So that way they have a couple years. The market's tough right now, and it's hard to add that infrastructure in. So that's just kind of my 2 cents there.
Thank you, Thomas. Anybody else have questions for staff? I see Brian's hand up and Melanie's hands up. I'm not sure if those are still up or if they're up again. So, Melanie, do you still have your hand up? Do you have another question? Okay. So I'll bring it back to the commission. Where do we want to go with this one? It sounded like Melanie wanted to put a condition on.
Chair, this is Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
The rainwater catchment should be, I believe, on there. If I can get a little direction from staff about what kind of amounts in that, I'd be ready to make a recommendation.
Would you like to take that one?
Sure. Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner Newman, I think you may want to consider focusing on the amount of water storage that the project would have. So currently they have 33,000 gallons of water storage. 190, just over 191, or sorry, just under 192,000 gallons is what's needed. And so depending on how much rainwater catchment you would like to have developed here, I think that can be added to the 33,000 gallons for whatever that total water storage would be. For instance, if you were to add 60, if my math is right here, 67,000 gallons, that would
put it up to 100.
That would be of storage, and 67,000 would be collected by rainwater catchment. So a condition would read something along the lines of the applicant shall develop rainwater catchment and storage capable of providing an additional 67,000 gallons of water during the forbearance period. And then I think you would want to consider whether that would be subject to the standard provisional conditional conditions that we have, which would allow them 2 years to develop that, or to tie that into a sooner time frame.
No, I think the standard would work on that, I believe. Cliff,
That
thank
sounds
you.
good. And I didn't have my hand up, by the way.
Okay. It was still up on the screen. That's I didn't know.
I think you should also add a condition that there's a deadline for the power, because I don't know if PG&E runs power lines to cannabis farms faster than they do families on the Indian reservation, but it took me forever to get power. So I think there should be, we don't really ever have much proof. Maybe you do on staff that, they paid to design, because the first thing you have to do is pay to have the design done. And then you get into the permitting process. And if, we're just going on the honor system. So I think, there should be 2 years deadline, something like that, because that's what it's going to take for most people to get power, if not longer.
I'd like to comment on that. Peggy, one of the things I found with PG&E is we can put a time frame on them, but PG&E is going to do what PG&E wants to do. That's how PG&E rolls.
And I know how PG&E works. I put in over 50 miles of power line. I know exactly how they operate. But what I'm saying is there are steps that the applicant takes that now it's not PG&E, it's not them, it's PG&E that's delayed. But if they're not even entering that process, and that's what I'm saying, they apply, not that PG&E finishes the project.
I didn't get to finish where I was going with that. What I would suggest, rather than, we could put a timeline, but I think that's just kind of an arbitrary thing. I think what we should demand in them is that they have a will serve letter from, and that was what one of the public commenters said earlier. It's something I've thought about often when this comes up, and I haven't really said anything, but I think if we did a will serve letter, that they have to prove, show proof of one, that should give some kind of a time frame from PG&E. Not that PG&E is going to honor it, because they very seldom do.
I understand.
It's just kind of, they got emergencies, they have to change. I'm not going after PG&E. I'm just saying it's just kind of the nature of that business.
And I understand that.
Gotten worse.
That's what I'm saying too. I think we're in agreement. Maybe we sound like we're not, but we are in agreement. I understand there's fires and emergencies and things that take them away from doing, routine connections, but there are certain steps the applicant has to take to show that they're sincerely pursuing the power connection and not just saying they are. That, after we approve a permit, that there's actually a process that they've entered to actually get the power.
So Mike, you sounded like you were about ready to make a motion, so you want to take a shot at it?
Sure. If there's no other commissioners wanting to talk about anything on this.
I don't see any other hands up. That's why
No. So I'd like to make a motion to find the Planning Commission has considered the addendum to the adopted mitigated negative declaration of the CCMLUO as described by section 15164 of the state CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and special permit, and adopt the resolution approving Humboldt Cure Inc. project as recommended by staff, subject to rainwater catchment of an additional 67,000 in rainwater storage, subject to standard time frames as Cliff described there, as well as a will serve letter by PG&E by the applicant.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
Any further discussion on the motion in the second? Go ahead, Thomas.
So what if the applicant can't, without clearing trees or something like that, I'm just throwing it out, those pictures look like they're using up most of the cleared area, what if they aren't able to get that much rain catchment storage, but they could get non-rain catchment storage? Because I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. Would the commission be okay with just the 67,000 gallons, or does it have to be rain catchment?
Go ahead, Mike. You're the.
Well, I'm talking about rain catchment because during the wet time, that's when it should be stored. And I think in most people's minds, that's very good to do.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or thoughts? Seeing none, I will ask Laura for a roll call vote, please.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
No.
Brian Mitchell,
No.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Motion carries 4-2. And that brings it 5-2. No, 4-2. Maybe I'm, no, 5-2. You're right. You are all here. Okay. Thank you, everyone. The next item is Big Sun Farms in the Harris area. And again, I'll query both the commission and attendees if there's anybody who wishes to have this item pulled. I see one hand going up on the attendees, so I will, with that, ask for a staff report, please.
Good evening, commissioners. Can I share my screen? Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, my name is Sarah Farola. I am a contract planner with Harrison Associates working with Humboldt County as a planner. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting on Big Sun Farms, LLC. This is one of two projects, and I'm going to give you a brief presentation on the project. So the project is located in the New Paris area, unclassified zoning and residential agriculture land use, and it is a 114-acre parcel. It is a conditional use permit for 27,000 square feet of existing outdoor cultivation and 11 greenhouses. Nursery propagation occurs in 3 greenhouses, which is 3,280 square feet. The irrigation source is a rainwater catchment pond. It is a 1.5 million gallon storage capacity pond that is located on the adjacent parcel under the same ownership. I will show that in the next slide. Water use is 365,000 gallons per year. Storage is 30,000 gallons in hard tanks, approximately 650,000 available by the pond. The project is powered by two 6,500 kilowatt generators used primarily for exhaust fans, and the applicant proposes a 15 kilowatt, a solar array battery system to power the project primarily. And there is a proposed drying facility, which is 120 square feet, and also a shed to house the battery system. Here is a picture of the site plan. On the right-hand side is the project parcel. The cultivation is located in the southeastern area. There's an inset that shows the nursery in dark green. Existing cultivation is in green outline. And I'm also showing the rainwater catchment pond that is located in the northwestern edge of the adjacent parcel. The conditions of approval for the project, there is a well that needs to comply with non-conformance status. That's condition 20, and the encroachments defined in the LSAA. The generator must be fully replaced by solar by 2025. And the timberland conversion needs to be restocked as defined in the timberland conversion evaluation. And there are a couple of general access conditions. So there was an addendum prepared for this project in June 2021. We found no substantial impacts by this project, and after analyzing all available documentation, staff has found that the project is consistent with the impacts identified and adequately mitigated in the original mitigated negative declaration. And we found that no significant adverse environmental effects are going to be identified. So our recommendation to the commission is to allow for the existing cultivation of 27,500 square feet of outdoor cannabis cultivation in the associated propagation area, supported by the findings and evidence and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. And I'd be happy to take any questions that the commission has.
Any questions for Sarah from the commission? Thomas, go ahead.
So this is where I would agree with some water concerns, because unless I was hearing that report wrong and I was reading it wrong, it's an unpermitted well. So there is no well completion report to give us guidance if the possibility of hydrologically connected or not. So this is where I would be on board to talk about some sort of other possibilities of not utilizing that water during the forbearance period. Unless I just need to clarify from staff, I heard that correctly.
Yes, may I clarify?
Yes, go ahead.
The well has been used for domestic use only, but it is not permitted. So unless it goes through the permitting system, it needs to be destroyed, essentially. So it's not for any cannabis use. I'm sorry for the lack of clarification I gave with that.
Okay, and staff has verified there's no connecting water lines or anything like that?
I have not specifically verified that. I can communicate with the person who did the site visit. This is through my communication with the applicant and also what I found in their application, just regarding how they're sourcing the irrigation from the pond.
Okay, thank you.
Noah, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just I probably didn't need to, but I just wanted to go back to Sarah and clarify that it is in fact the pond on the adjacent parcel that is the source of water for all irrigation on this and the adjacent parcels cannabis activities, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And the pond is existing. It is already, yes.
Yes, the pond is existing.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sarah when we go to public comment? All right, thank you, Sarah. And I will now open up the public comment on this. And the first one is Kent. Go ahead, Kent.
Hey, at least you can't say that I go ahead and pull things off consent and don't continue to participate. I'm not that guy, am I?
That's a true statement.
That's a true statement. And I usually make only true statements. To start with, I wish to compliment the question that was asked by Planning Commissioner Brian Mitchell. It was a very pertinent question. The fatal flaw that I've seen is that you did not actually get a legal opinion on this. You got staff opinion. I would ask the question again on the ancillary thing, and this time to go to your competent counsel. I believe your competent counsel will say she will have to go ahead and do some kind of research prior to you moving forward by permitting any ancillary things. That's just my crystal ball. That's what I would see happening. So please ask the question again, Brian. It was a wonderful question regarding the ancillary permit and whether it's under CEQA and you can even move forward with this. These two projects are joined at the hip. They should be treated as one project. As far as cumulative things, obviously you just mentioned the water sources going back and forth. This particular one has ancillary of approximately 12% is what I came up with. I could be corrected on that. the generators are replaced by solar by 2026. Why so long? I do not understand. With the minimal cost of solar and the potential savings, both the environment, everything, that's not happening instantly. PG&E is part of this one. I don't know if that's already being done on both of these, or if this is one of those ones where it's going to be done. We have someone in here when financially feasible, and we've already discussed that doesn't happen. On this particular project, let's see, what else did I have here? 12%, adjacent parts. Okay, I think I've pretty well covered it. I did have a question for staff. Last thing, you based something upon a particular company, and your decision was based upon Bushnell Industries. Is that Supervisor Michelle Bushnell Industries, and did she participate, or her family participate in this particular decision? Because anytime you have somebody benefiting financially in this business, you have a potential conflict of interest. So those are pertinent questions. Hopefully you will re-ask the one regarding this ancillary thing and the other structures on here. The other one, the next project, which should be, I think, has 24% ancillary use, as far as I can tell, with a nursery grow room in there. It's supposed to be staff, quote unquote, close room. Anyway, just some questions we'll be asking on this project and the two. They should be considered cumulatively because they are joined at the hip. Unless you can bifurcate the projects completely, because they could be sold at any time, there is no reason to not treat them as one single project. That's my perception on this. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Kent. Next caller is 7108, Bonnie.
Hi. My concern is about the generators, since they have powers provided by PG&E, as well as two 6,500 kilowatt generators used for exhaust fans during the late summer months. It's like, whoa, that's a dangerous time of the year. So I'm just wondering, at 3, you got 2 generators and PG&E. Yeah, just what's going on. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Bonnie. Anybody else that wants to comment on this one? Leslie Doyle. Go ahead, Leslie.
Hi, Planning Commission. I'm Leslie Doyle. I've assisted with the permitting process for Greg Stefani, the owner of Big Sun Inc. There are quite a few errors in the staff report that was provided for you. A revised draft was sent to Sarah back in June, and unfortunately that did not make it to the packet that went to you guys. One of the things that the cumulative water use via the pond includes both parcels, not just one. The well is for domestic use only, and they report to the water board on their use. They have meters installed. And the generator use is only for backup. And the solar proposed is already in the works of being designed. So I just wanted to make a couple of points in regards to that. And also the applicant, Greg Stefani, is present at the hearing tonight. So if you have any questions for him, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Leslie. Greg, I see you have your hand up, so why don't you address us and answer those questions? Go ahead, Greg.
Hello, this is Greg Stefani, CEO of Big Sun Farms, Inc. Thank you, commissioners, for this opportunity to speak on this project. I just wanted to make some clarification on the water issue between these two projects. I am in agreement with what was mentioned. They are tied at the hip. There has been a water easement agreement created that discusses the exact relationship between these two projects, and that's been recorded with Humboldt County. Just wanted to be clear about that. And any well use, either on this or the other project, 002, is only for domestic only. All of the cannabis is serviced by the rainwater catchment pond at 1.5 million gallons. Any other questions while I'm here? I'm happy to answer.
All right. Just stay with us in case when we get back, if there's a commissioner that has.
I actually do have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Greg, for being with us tonight. And I just was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to the solar installation project that your consultant just said was sort of already in the works or underway. I just want to say I think this sounds like a good project. I'm satisfied with its mitigations by and large, but the 5 years out is kind of a long time to wait for that to be conditioned. So if you were comfortable having that be conditioned a little bit less far out in the future, say like 3 years out or something like that, rather than 5. Thank you.
This is Greg Stefani. I'm fine with that condition. 3 years would be plenty to get that done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Greg while we have him here?
Sure.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
So my question is about the permitting with these two quote unquote joined at the hip. This one that does not have the pond on it, is it able to be sold separately and nothing go on with the water issue?
It's my understanding with that easement, this parcel has rights to that water now. And that's what I've been told. Just to clarify also, the project that receives the water does not have possibility for PG&E service. Just to clarify, the project ending in 007, there's no possibility of PG&E service. So that's why we're proposing the solar. The project ending in 002 currently has PG&E service.
So for this project ending in 457, without the pond on the parcel there, how is there control about the use of the water there?
Define control. Currently,
yes, if it was sold to somebody else besides Big Sun, what would be their rights then to pull water out, and how would they have any control about that pond having enough water for them as well as the other one?
I believe they would through the water easement. This currently is family land that we've owned since the mid 80s. I received it from my mother when she passed away. There are no plans in my family to sell on these projects. We're keeping them for generations. But
I understand that. Maybe staff can address a little part of that question.
What?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Commissioner Newman, so one of the reasons that we did require that the applicant record what's called a contingent easement, you can't actually grant an easement to yourself and they own both parcels. But what they did record is a contingent easement, which says that in the event that that property changes hands or that any of those properties change hands and are no longer owned together, there will be an easement granted for rights to that pond and to the water lines that run from that pond to the other site. So that if that does happen and we have two different ownerships, there is an established easement to that pond.
All right.
So if there is an unfriendly takeover of this existing parcel, what happens in that case?
Well, you know, the easements are usually not something that the county would enforce upon. It'd be a civil matter, but the problem would be that if all of a sudden we have an approved cannabis operation that is not that does not have an adequate source of water for some reason, they would not be able to operate. We would actually work with them to either not cultivate because they don't have water, or we would actually follow the revocation process if they chose not to work with us on that. So I think through our inspection process, that would be uncovered. Now, again, they would have the right, but sometimes with property owners, if they're hostile to each other, you can have some adverse, interactions like that. And so, but I think to try to give you some comfort there, we would not allow for cultivation to happen if there was not adequate water. And it would be the same if for some reason that pond failed and there was no water there, we would identify that they could no longer cultivate.
Great. Thank you, Cliff.
With that, I'm going to close the public comment and bring it back to the commission because I don't see any more hands up on either side. So when public comments closed and we're back to the commission for deliberation. Anybody have any thoughts on this one? No? Can talk anybody into making a motion on it?
I don't see the water, the potential selling of the land and everything associated with it as a huge problem that would preclude our approval.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll move. I don't have. I'm just going to move with a short form that says that we will approve the Big Sun Farms record number PLN 11457 CUP in the Harris area. I guess I should add that with one recommended change to the condition, which is that condition 19 requiring a solar array battery system. I think we should have that in place by, what would it be, 3 years instead of, so by January 1st, 2024, moving that up by 2 years. Otherwise, with all conditions as stated in the staff report.
And that I'll second.
Thank you, Mike.
Second, any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask Laura for a roll call vote.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, everyone. I'm looking at the time. It's almost 7:30, so let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and continue on. So we'll be back in 5. Break, some of you might have heard this too. The director, interim director, and myself were talking about what's left on the agenda. And there's a couple items, they're the two last items, 14 and 15, that are not cannabis related. And they've kind of, last meeting and this meeting, are getting held hostage. So we were going to move those up to our next two items so that they get gone through. They're just kind of, I think they're going to just be simple ones, hopefully. And then we'll go back to where we were. So the next item that we're going to address is item number 14.
Chair,
Yes.
are you talking about continuing on Big Sun just while we've got it fresh in our minds?
Oh,
and then go?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I wasn't, but that is a good point. We should let's do item number 4, and then we will go to 14 and 15. Good point, Mike. I wasn't thinking it through all the way when the suggestion came up, so that's a good call. So I guess I'll ask for a staff report on item number 4, Big Sun Farms in the Harris area. It's basically the same product.
Was that pulled, or is there somebody objecting to it?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, I guess I could ask that too if
that's what you've been doing.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that since we had the last one that we were going to, but I will ask if there's anybody who wants this pulled from the consent, and there is public. So,
okay.
We'll take a staff report.
Thank you, Chair. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. Again, I wanted to make a couple points of clarification. The CEQA addendum prepared for these projects was prepared together. The staff reports are separate because there are some separate details, but the CEQA addendum does take into consideration both of them since they're sharing water and drying facilities. Also, just to clarify that you do have the most up-to-date staff report in front of you. This project was originally continued from last month, and revisions were made based on comments from the applicant and the applicant's agent. So just didn't want you thinking you had any outdated information. This project is for Big Sun Farms, conditional use permit 11458. Located in the New Harris area. Zoning is agriculture exclusive, timberland production zone, and land use is timberland. Parcel size is 204 acres. This is to permit a maximum of 4,560 outdoor cultivation area. There's currently 43,490 square feet. Cultivation occurs in 21 greenhouses. Nursery propagation occurs in 4 greenhouses, as well as 1 propagation barn. The irrigation source is the rainwater catchment pond that is located on this property and shares with the project we just went through. The water use is 439,000 gallons, and storage is 62,000 gallons. Approximately 850,000 is available from the pond. Drying takes place in a 5,000 square foot metal building, and power is provided by PG&E. The applicant proposes to replace the backup generators with 1 propane generator for just backup use. The proposed development is a wooden barn that is 1,920 square feet. That includes 4 nursery grow rooms as well as break room for employees. This is an inset of the site map. On the left, you can see the entire parcel with the pond sort of in the northwest. And here are the nursery areas in hash marks. I think it's in the top here. My little screen just went down. This is the proposed wooden barn with nursery grow rooms, the rainwater catchment pond, and existing outdoor cultivation is in green perimeter. The conditions of approval, there's also a well that has non-conformance status that is exclusively for domestic use on this parcel as well. The generator requires the permit and must be replaced by 2025, and I'm assuming we're going to switch that to 2024, January 1st, 2024. Put that amendment in there. And those are the main conditions of approval. And joint addendum was prepared for this project, and we have determined that the project is consistent with impacts identified and and adequately mitigated in the original MND. So staff recommends to approve this permit for 11458 for existing 4,490 square feet of outdoor cultivation and associated 8,511 square feet of propagation area, which is supported by the findings and subject to recommended conditions of approval. And I'll be happy to take any questions from commissioners or the public now. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Sarah before we open up to the public? Seeing none, I will now open this up for public comment. And the first public is 5288. Go ahead and *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm going to have to move one phone out of the room since I run two phones because technology tends to cut me off. Just a second here. I apologize for the feedback. Okay, we should be okay now. Again, this project is joined at the hip with the other project. I come up with a total, and I could be corrected or wrong, is 20% of ancillary use in this particular project, which should be right around a quarter of an acre. 7,680 plus 831 plus 8,511 is what the numbers I had here. No, that actually takes it up to 24% is what we have on this particular one, which is what you were discussing last time as far as ancillary. We still do not have a legal determination regarding ancillary being appropriate at all, whether there's any sequel in this. The other question I have is this should be a 2.0 project. These all should be, because you're adding things to it. You're adding barns, you're adding this. And I do have a question as far as, was this project exactly like you have it back in 2016? Because if you're making any changes, it should be a new permit. Plain and simple. You're gonna hear double talk from staff again. They're gonna disagree with me, but I think the logic is basically there. If you're using CEQA for a timeline, a footprint, exactly what was there in 2016, December 31st, you could permit and bring forward based upon being grandfathered in or on a CEQA baseline basis. Any changes in that have to be assessed as to whether they're positive changes. And I would say the increase in the different determination, different uses, everything you're adding here, including large increases in ancillary uses, is not the same project. And so these all should be under a 2.0. And I really do appreciate the fact that you're not going to county council for legal advice. That's great for me. Also the fact that we continually seem to roll forward without getting those determinations is unbelievable. It really is. You have a competent counsel there sitting there, and why is she even there unless you're going to actually ask her rather than Cliff for legal determinations? Unless I'm misinformed, Cliff is not an attorney. I go to competent counsel when I want to have a legal determination, not to staff, because that's what's cost the county millions of dollars in the past and will continue to when you have non-experts making determinations within their own field. This may be a wonderful project, but on the things that I've just mentioned to you, it's totally grounds for denying this project, having staff bring it back. And if they can assure you this is the exact same project that was in December 31st of 2016, if it's not, you have a 2.0. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Next caller is 7108, Bonnie.
I have questions about the generators. They have PG&E, but they're proposing to upgrade to a bigger propane generator in the shed, but it says there's 5 other generators, so I'm not sure what that's all about. There's here and where all this power is going to be going. You have your propagation nurseries, whatever, I figure price and power is going there. And then you have, they proposing to build a barn, a wooden barn that includes 4 nursery grow rooms. And to me, that sounds like an indoor grow. So I'm just wondering if things have changed on that. Yeah, concerned about the generators. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Bonnie. Next caller is Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
Hello, this is Greg Stefani, CEO of Big Sun Farms. I'd like to make some clarifications to staff report and hopefully clear a few things up here moving forward. On the proposed wooden barn, the wooden barn is currently existing. It was built in 2010, I believe, and it does have those 4 grow rooms used only for mothers for a period of about 2 months in the winter. That currently is existing. Also, I would like to propose, and this was the confusion, a 40 by 50 structure for processing on site. That'll also include ADA bathroom, break room, office, and storage. It would eliminate the other buildings that are proposed, the ADA bathroom and storage building. And one thing that was not mentioned by the presentation on this staff report is I am requesting a nursery permit and a processing permit for this site. The nursery permit would only be to service the current permits on this site and the other site numbered at 11457. This one is 11458. That is why you're looking at a 24% size nursery. It's intended to service both this site and 11457. Without that commercial nursery permit, it's just the state requires us to have a space for every single permit. Currently, I have 6 state grow permits for these 2 sites. So it would essentially condense all that into one place and ease up our pain on trying to keep all those plants in the right place at the right time. The generator usage that's been mentioned is only during PG&E power outages. PG&E has been pretty iffy in the last few years. We get about 2 weeks of power outages, and it's very difficult to run a commercial facility with these small backup generators. We're proposing a larger propane backup generator, no fear of spillage with propane, and also to have a surrounding containment for noise for that generator. Any questions from staff while you have me here? I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Greg? All right.
Question.
Greg? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
So the nurseries, 3 nurseries on the prior application, what were those all about if you're proposing to bring them all over here?
I would use
Why the extra space?
I need them for immature plants. But, you know, I think it was mentioned in last week's meeting by someone that the 10% is really hard to work with, especially doing multiple crops. And I just need the extra space for about like 10 days to move those plants through to that location, grow them up, and then get them into their final destination in the greenhouses.
Any other questions for Greg? Yeah.
I had a couple questions, Alan, for staff. First of all, I just wanted to ask, it sounded like the applicant was making some clarifications or changes in his statements versus what we have in the staff report. I just want to make sure that staff was aware of those already. And secondly, if we're going to be doing a commercial nursery, how do we sort of parse out when we're looking at the sort of bonus 10% nursery space for the cultivation site versus analyzing the impacts for the commercial nursery and keeping all those separate? Thank you.
You want to address?
Thank you. I'll take a stab at that, and then Sarah, you may want to clarify also. But you know, we did not describe a commercial nursery as part of this application, and so you actually the commission should not be approving a commercial nursery tonight if you do choose to approve this project. So there is a distinction though between what the county considers to be a commercial nursery and what the state does in some instances, which is that when you do have a operation and very similar to this, where you have two sites right next to each other, the operator is the same operator for both. They may want to use a nursery on one site to provide some of the plants for their adjacent site. Now, under the county's requirements, we have not considered that to be a commercial nursery. We consider that to be appurtenant. The state would require a commercial nursery license. In the county's definitions of commercial nursery, it would be something that is for offsite sales. And so and this is maybe a question for the applicant, but I don't believe they're proposing offsite sales. And again, because we didn't define or describe this or even analyze it as a commercial nursery for offsite sales, you should not be approving something like that tonight. One thing I did want to touch on is the size of the nursery. We have been trying very hard to limit those nurseries to 10%. And it does look like this is more than the 10%, and that perhaps slipped by here. So I would recommend that you add a condition of approval that would limit the nurseries to be 10% of the total cultivation area. And I can draft some language to that effect if you'd like.
With that, I'm going to close the public comment. I didn't do that before.
Can I make one more comment, guys? This is great.
Yeah, you can.
I would be happy to drop the nursery at a lower site, the smaller nursery, and just keep everything at 11458. And what we're proposing, I believe was just described, is not a commercial nursery, no offsite sales. We're just servicing our permits on these two contiguous parcels. And just as another note, we do have an interior ranch road. So there is no additional traffic to either Bellis Road on 11458 or A Road on 11457. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the commission now. And Brian, you have your hand up.
I think whatever function normally puts the hands down after we talk is not functioning tonight.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thanks. Mike, you have your hand up there.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Chairman. I'm asking about the question for staff and council about the 1.0 versus 2.0 question that was brought up in public comment.
Don't rise to that bait.
Go ahead.
Sure. And, we do also have council here, but one of the things that I want to clarify is that the 1.0 ordinance did anticipate that there would be changes made to these sites to bring them into conformance with the various state requirements and with the ordinance as it was being adopted. And so in this case, there was a lot of cultivation area that was occurring throughout the property, close to streamside management areas within the oak woodlands. And what this project is proposing to be approved for now is to consolidate those grow areas into one flat area and then restore the remainder of all those areas where they were previously cultivating. And so we do believe that it's consistent with the intent of that first ordinance, which is that there would have to be changes made in order to bring these cultivation operations into compliance with state and county requirements.
I'd like to hear an opinion from the attorney.
So that was a pretty broad question that was brought up earlier. And if there are specific things that you want analyzed, I think that I'd like to do that in a memo format. But I do want to just go to the criteria for an addendum to the M&D. An An addendum is appropriate if the criteria for a subsequent mitigated negative declaration is not met. And really you're looking if there are substantial changes to the projects that require major revisions to the MND, substantial changes under which the project would require new significant environmental effects. If there's going to be significant environmental effects that weren't previously discussed or examined, and if mitigation measures previously found to be not feasible would be feasible. And then if the mitigation measures or alternatives are considerably different from those previously analyzed. So, you're really looking at, would the project itself have a significant effect that wasn't previously contemplated? And here we've done the addendum and the department found that the criteria was met. 15162 didn't apply. The whole of the project is being analyzed. And I would be happy to address, the myriad of issues in a memo. I think it would be a good thing to do it in that format at this time. So if there are specific questions, let me know and I'd be happy to do that.
Well, I was going to ask at some point on this one. So I'd like the question that's been brought up by both one of the commissioners and by Mr. Swatsky about the ancillary things that happened and if that has to have its own secret document. I think you just kind of answered that, but that would be good to have to get a opinion on.
Yeah, it'd be good to get it in a memo form. Just want to chime in on that.
Thank you, Alan. Ms. Brian. I agree.
Thank you. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Natalie while we have her with us? Thomas, you have your hand up. So.
Just kind of piggybacking on a lot of these sites that change through the permitting process from pre-2016 to now, because a lot of them I've followed before I was a commissioner were in environmentally inferior areas, and they're actually, if you're environmental protection, you're bringing it into an environmentally superior site a lot of times. So I think there's a lot of studies that are involved with the relocation process, and that's about it.
Thomas. So any other questions or anything, or is anybody?
Oh, well, Alan, if I could, the attorneys said that the question regarding 2.0 and 1.0 is sort of too broad, but I'd like to try to make sure we understand that the basis upon which we determine whether or not it's 2.0 or 1.0 that applies strictly relates to when the date the application was deemed complete. Is that correct? Or can you describe for us the exact criteria for how we determine which set of rules apply? Thank you.
Is that a quick for you, Natalie?
I think that Mr. Johnson could actually discuss that in practice with more specifics than I could.
Sure, thanks. Through the chair. The ordinance, actually as part of the adoption of the second ordinance, Ordinance 2.0, it was specifically written in there that this ordinance would not, with the exception of the special area provisions, which are, if you're within a community planning area, for odor control, there was some retroactive standards. But with the exception of that, it was very clear that it would not apply to applications that were submitted before December 31st, 2016, which was the deadline for which all 1.0 applications had to be submitted. If you recall, there was that window, and then we didn't have the ability to accept applications until we went through the process for 2.0. So it's right in the very beginning of the CCLUO Ordinance 2.0, the applicability standards, that those standards do not apply to any application that was submitted before that window closed, December 31st, 2016.
Anything you'd like to add, Natalie?
No, that's accurate as to the application for under 1.0 and what applies.
That answer your questions, Brian? I'm going to assume yes. Sarah just put her hand up, so go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to clarify what the applicant is requesting in terms of the nursery propagation area. And he's trying to see if he can retain the entire nursery propagation area on 11458 and in a way trade that and remove the nursery propagation area on 11457. So retain the 7,680 on this project and remove the, I believe it is 3,280 square feet on the adjacent property for his nursery needs. So I wanted to put that out there and see what the commission thought of it, or the chair, director, excuse me.
Okay. Mike, go ahead.
Well, that was part of my whole question there about why on the previous one with the 10%, you know, in there, and then this one at 24%, and it wasn't brought up at all with the previous discussion. I find that troubling there, that we weren't told that they wanted to switch over on that previous approval. It just troubles me a little bit. It just doesn't set right. That's all.
Can I respond
Please.
to Commissioner Newman?
Go ahead.
I agree. I wasn't in clarity with that either. I think to also address Brian's, Commissioner Mitchell's question is this, there had been conversation in the prior staff report to propose a commercial nursery, and we had determined that it was outside the scope of this permit approval. So I think just trying to figure out a solution. So I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. I think that is what we're trying to figure out, if there's going to be a way to trade it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Bongio. You know, I believe that the issue here is we just actually, the Planning Commission did vote to approve the previous project, which included the nursery on site. And so I don't think that there is a way to modify that approval through this permit that's in front of you now, because they are two separate permit requests. And so I think my recommendation at this point would be that maybe we continue this item to a date uncertain, and then bring them both back with a modification of the one that was just approved and this one, so that we can have the nursery areas approved the right way, really, and the way that the applicant's talking about. That'd be my suggestion at this point.
Okay. Thomas, I see you had your hand up, so go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Cliff, but maybe I'm wrong. Couldn't we just do a condition of approval on this project that they would be allowed 10%, and if they relinquish their immature plant areas to the project 11457 of immature plant areas, they could be approved for 20% on this project? Is that something that could be done without bringing it back before a hearing?
We may be able to write a condition like that, that, like you suggest, maybe that they would be limited to 10% unless they, and I would propose that they would need to modify that approval that just happened. So maybe what could happen here is a condition could say that they're limited to 10% unless they have gone through the modification process for 11457 to eliminate the nursery. I think that could work.
Okay.
It certainly would be nice to finish it tonight if we can, not bring it back. It's a good idea, Thomas. Natalie, you have your hand up. Do you have an opinion on that?
I just wanted to offer that you could potentially do a motion for reconsideration to go back to the other permit. I don't know if that's desirable. It's really late, but that is potentially a way to reopen that.
Does anybody have any interest in that?
Well, maybe now that we've gotten into this situation, maybe that's the clearest way to resolve it so that we don't leave an open loop for later.
Natalie, would we have to have a motion to do that? I've never done that before, so this is new ground.
It's not something that I've been involved in a lot either. What I understand is that someone who was in support of the last project would need to bring a motion to reconsider on that specific basis, and they could do it right now or after this approval. And then you could go back to it if that motion receives a majority vote.
So we vote on the second one first and then go back to that one?
You could do it either way. You could go back to the first one right now and then come back to the second one if a motion for reconsideration passed, or do it the other way.
What's the feeling of the commission? Would you like to go back? I mean, does somebody want to make a motion to go back?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to go back to the previous.
Do we even know if the applicant wants us to do this, or because I maybe you heard something I didn't hear, but is this something that they want us to do?
That's a good idea, Peggy. Let's just ask him. He put his hand up the minute you. So let's, Greg, go ahead and chime in on this because this is your project.
Peggy, thanks for asking. I appreciate you checking in with me. This would be amendable to me to contain the entire nursery at 11458 and eliminate the nursery completely in propagation area at 11457. One reason this works for my project is we don't have PG&E service at 11457, so propagation and mothers there, it just doesn't make sense. We want to keep all that in a place where we have PG&E and we don't have to run generators to do that. That's my 2 cents. Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate it.
And so if the properties were to ever be sold, it would be a similar situation as the water, then that would change the 20-0 kind of status, right?
I would think that if the property sold, and I'm not an attorney here, that there could be an amendment to that project's permit to receive a nursery again. Possibly, I don't know.
Well, Mike, you're starting to make a motion.
I would like to know about that as well, because I've been back and forth with the two different permits and joined at the hip. So if that were to take place, if we were to take away the nursery 10% area on the previous 157 permit and add it to the 5.8, and then selling were to occur, would there be the possibility of getting the nursery 10% area back to the previous 5.7 and bring this one down to 5.8? That's a staff and legal question.
Through the chair, I'll take the first stab at it. What I think we would want to do with 11458, which is the one that we're talking about right now, where they do want to have the nursery, is that we would add a condition that in the event the other APN, and we'll have to get that APN number, is sold separately, so that it's no longer owned together, they would need to remove any excess nursery beyond the 10%. Now, separately, the other one could come in and ask for a modification to add a nursery. Another option at that point would be that 11458, the one we're talking about right now, could ask for a permit for a commercial nursery, and we'd obviously would have to review that and see if that's permittable on this site. But in doing that, that may then allow them to keep it, provide the clones and everything to the other site. Because once this becomes two different operators that are not working, they're different operators, then it would be a commercial nursery under the county code, and that would require a separate permit. Does that answer that question?
I heard an answer, sorry to jump in, I heard it say that it can be resolved with those couple of amendments that you described.
Natalie, would you like to chime in on this one?
I don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Okay. Brian, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to clarify that we are capping the nursery space at 20% of the 10% of the combined project. If we look at it as one whole project, I'm not sure that they've stated that for us for sure, but I would definitely like to cap it at 10% of the total project.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple different options here. We actually probably have three. We could just vote on this one, which is separate from the first one, or we could go back to the first one and do the process that Natalie described, or we could continue this and have staff bring it back to us at a future date, I guess straightened out, combined. Go ahead, Mike.
So because of the convolution and everything, I think we should continue it and bring it on back. I would make that motion to bring both of them back.
Second.
Can't do the first one, right? Or
well, yeah, we can only bring back the second one, I guess, because the first one we've already voted on.
No, we can, I believe we can
We do the
do that. I believe Natalie said we could do that too.
Yeah.
Rescind it and then bring it back.
Yeah, I think that's how we have to do it, but Natalie wants.
Yeah, I thank you, Chair. I wanted to clarify that if you want to reconsider, you need to make that motion and vote on that motion tonight, or else you can't do it.
Right.
And you'd be stuck in the modification scenario. But you could potentially reconsider and bring it back.
Okay.
and Chair, our county council said that we needed to have one of the motioners like me that made that previous motion ask it to be rescinded. Is that correct?
It would need to come from someone who voted in favor of the previous motion.
Ah, okay. So that was everybody.
Yeah, it was unanimous. So I see
Okay.
Brian has his hand back up, so I'll let him speak and then I'll let whoever wants to make a motion however they want to. This is starting to get confusing.
I just wanted to say, when we had the three options out there, that it didn't make sense to vote on this project until we rescinded the other one, but that's moot at this point. So I take it down.
All right, thank you. Noah, your hand's back up.
Yeah, I do want to make a motion to reconsider the Big Sun Farms item PLN number 11457 that we previously voted unanimously to approve.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to rescind that last vote.
And then just to explain what I'm going to do, I think what I'm hearing is that I can now make a motion to continue that to a date uncertain to allow staff to work out this nursery question between the two different permits. Is that what we're going to try to do?
Or do we have to have two votes, Natalie? Are they two separate things, or can we do them together?
So first, you need a vote on the motion to
That's
reconsider. Yeah, and then.
Okay, so we have a motion to reconsider the first item number 3. Do we have a second on that? Mike, are you? Oh, Melanie did. That's right.
We already had that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is there any further discussion on that, or we'll have to take a vote on that and then we'll go to the second vote? Okay. No discussion. So I'll ask for a roll call vote. Laura?
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Laura. So that motion carried unanimous. So now we'll have a second motion to continue this item for staff to bring back.
This item and the other.
Yeah, both of them.
Oh, okay.
But Cliff has got his hand.
Yeah, if I could through the chair, I think one of the reasons for rescinding the previous approval, if I understood correctly at the beginning of this discussion, was to then allow us to actually potentially approve both of these tonight. So what we would do is the 11458 would be approved, I think, as proposed, with a condition that in the event 11457 is sold separately, they need to drop their propagation to 10%. And if it were approved with a condition like that, then I think you would go back to 11457, which was just rescinded, and approve that with the condition that they have no on-site ancillary nursery. And I believe that would accomplish what everybody has been trying to navigate through here.
I think we also need to make sure we have an illegal opinion that we can do that and we're not in violation of the ordinance by, because we're actually looking at it now as one project, not two, because if it was two separate projects, and I'm not an attorney, I just want to make sure that what we're doing is allowed, because we're really setting a precedent for other projects that might come down the road later and want to do the same thing. Not that I think that it is good to move the nursery propagation area to where there is PG&E and power, so you don't have to run generators on the other side. But I just want to make sure that we're doing something that legally we can do.
And
go ahead, Mike.
And make consideration about the percentage of the nursery as the 10% of the 1157 and 10% of the 1158, not just a straight 24% of what we've seen on 1158 for the nursery. I'd like to have that maybe talked about.
Okay. Cliff or?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think you were asking a question for council, but I would add that if we do end up approving, if the commission ends up approving 11458, 10% of both 11457, which is 27,500, and 11458, which is 43,500, would be basically 7,100 square feet of nursery. And so I think that would be the condition that you would add to the approval of 11458.
Natalie, do you have anything to add to this before we go any further?
I want to make sure that I understand Commissioner O'Neill's question, and I think that was about the tying the two permits and properties together and whether that was.
Well, I think that what we're doing is we're saying we're now allowing a site to have more than 10%. Can we do that? I mean, We're just assuming that if we give it up here, that we can add it over there. But because it is two separate projects or applications, are we in compliance if we do what we're doing? It might make common sense to be doing it, but does it make legal sense? Because the next one might come along and say, well, hey, we're really good friends and we want to have our nursery over here and he's willing to not have a nursery over there. So, you know, by allowing 20% on this permit, are we in compliance with the ordinance that limits a permit to 10%? Because we've just made an arbitrary decision that we can combine two projects and put 20 over here and 0 over there, and we're still in compliance. And I don't know if that's legal. And you're the one that could tell us, I guess.
I mean, I think that conditioning the project to account for what would occur if the ownership changed is a way of mitigating the issue that you're concerned about.
Well, you have the license and the legal opinion, and that's a different factor. You know, that when it's sold, I understand that those to me are two different issues. Can we do what we're proposing to do? Is it legal to trade off and say this permit can have more, this permit has less, and just because they're owned by the same person, it's okay? I just want your opinion that it's okay. We have people threatening to sue us in the audience. I want to make sure that we are listening from the council.
I'd like to chime in. I just got a text from Director Ford, who suggested that we continue this item to August 19th, or excuse me, I believe that.
Which is what we're proposing to do, but when it does come back, that was just the caveat that I had, is that we are told that we're fine and that we're doing the right thing, or something we're allowed to do.
Yeah, the issue of the 10% being allowed by the state concerns me.
Thomas?
It sounds like the director is specifically texting in from wherever he is to ask us not to proceed with what we thought we were going to do tonight. That's what I'm understanding the import of that. We had rescinded our approval of the first item, Big Sun. We're now being asked to continue both of them to the date certain of August 19th, correct?
Correct.
And at that point, we'll resolve all of this. And it'll come back with the directors and the attorney's stamp of approval, and we'll do whatever they recommend that, that makes sense at that point.
Yeah.
Basically, he was saying it'll give staff time to answer all the questions that have came up. Legal counsel will get a look at it and it'll come back to us as a cleaner situation.
So can I make that a motion, Mr. Chairman, to continue these to August 19th?
I would love for you to. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on it?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in, I have my hand up, Chair Bongio.
I'm sorry, Thomas.
It's fine. No worries. I just wanted to point out that ordinance does not clarify a specific percentage of cultivation area you're allowed for nursery, nor does the state disallow a certain percentage. There's other counties where people could have 50% nursery space. So I just there's a misconception that there's something in the ordinance. If we would have acted last meeting, it would be in the ordinance, but as far as I understand. But I support the idea of going to the 19th.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. So we have a motion and a second, right? Who was the second though?
Me.
Mike
Newman, to take this to the August 19th meeting. So with that, I'll ask Laura for a roll call vote.
Alan Bonju,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McGaver.
yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimous. That was a tough one, guys, and I think we came up with the right solution, actually. I think it's a good idea to step back on that one. All right. with that, now we're going to do what we talked about before. We're going to jump to items number, I believe they were 14 and 15. And item number 14 is the measure special permit for after the fact tree removal in the Fortuna area. And is there anybody who wishes to have this item pulled? Or can we let it ride on a vote right now? Anybody from the public? Anybody from the commission? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to approve this if there's no concerns.
So moved.
Seconded.
Noah second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Laura, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Alan Bongiu,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Thank you. That's a unanimous vote. All right, that takes us to item number 15, which is Victor Blanc in the Corbell area. Is there anybody who wishes to have this one? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for a vote on this one.
I would move approval of the Victor Blank project on record number PLN 2021-16919 in the Corbell area.
All right, thank you, Noah. Do I
I'll
have a
second.
Thank you, Melanie. Do you have a motion, a second, any discussion?
Is that's subject to the staff report evidence found in there?
Yes, subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Thank you.
All right. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Laura?
Alan Bongiu,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes. Sorry, I couldn't unmute for a second.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Carries unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Now we will go back to item number 5, which is Kinsey Ridge LLC in the Willow Creek area. Is there anybody who wishes to have this item pulled? I see one hand up, so I will ask for a staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Byron Turner. I'll be presenting this project this evening. I'll give a brief presentation. So as was stated, this is the, oops, hang on one second. Sorry about that. The Kinsey Ridge LLC conditional use permit and special use permits or special permits for the Kinsey Ridge project. Kinsey Ridge is a 13,000 square foot outdoor cultivation area.
Excuse me, I can't see the whole thing. It's very small.
Has to move up.
It's not in the full there.
There we go.
Okay, you're almost there.
Almost there.
To go to the full screen.
How about now?
There we go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
This project also, this is known as PLN 11841 CUP. The project also includes 2 special permits, one to reduce the 600-foot setback from public lands, and a second special permit is to allow work within the streamside management area in order to decommission and restore areas that have been used for cultivation in the past. Drying and bucking will occur on site. Processing is proposed in a 900 square foot building. Access is along a U.S. Forest Service road that intersects with Titlow Hill Road. A road evaluation report indicated that it's a Category 4 road. It is paved and approximately 20 feet wide. This map is intended to show the cultivation areas and the relocation areas outside of the stream bed management area. It's staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission can conclude that the addendum to the Minute Neg deck is appropriate, make all the required findings for the use permit and special permit, and approve the project subject to the conditions of approval in the staff report. I'm available for any questions.
All right. Does any of the commissioners have questions for Byron? Excuse me. Mike Newman, go ahead. Right. Oh,
Sorry, that was from before. It never
okay.
went down.
Never took it down. So seeing no hands up, I will open this up for public comment, and we have 2. The first one is Kent at 5288. Yeah, you only get one shot, Kent. *6 to unmute. You there, Kent? *6 to unmute. Yeah. Let's try 7454. Yeah, let me just *6. Okay. You there?
This is Ken. I'm on 2 phones, unmuted on both, it sounds like. So I guess I'm double here. There we go. I'm going to get there one way or another. You know me. This sets very interesting precedent, and I did strongly support your action on those other 2 projects. Hopefully you will have the legal determination regarding the ancillary use before moving forward on that from your capable county council. Natalie, you're busy tonight, aren't you? This one also has an ancillary use, and it's kind of prime example of what ancillary use actually was in the time. A lot of these permits, if they were guerrilla grows that are being moved forward, would have 120 square feet, which is less than 1% ancillary use on 13,000 square feet. And that frequently was where someone would start their seeds and they would sex those seeds and put them out. So you may find that that's the correct amount of ancillary use that would be grandfathered in and might be legal. I believe the rest of them you will find are not. So let's see, we have it's a pretty good project, actually. I think it has an estimate of 80,000 pounds with proposed 80,000 gallons of water, proposed with 250,000 gallons, 261.7. Hopefully that will all be on a forbearance process. You have 900 square foot on-site processing, and unless that was 900 square foot that existed as of December 31st, 2016, that would need to be permitted separately along with the ancillary. That would be my opinion. You have a reduction from 6 Rivers National Forest, and there's something about a natural spring in here also, which does bring a little concerns on the water. I just wanted you to be aware at the last zoning administrator meeting, finally the parks chair chived in, not the national parks because they can't, but the local parks Redwood Redwood Park locally here. They wish to have an assessment, the way I understood it, and John Ford could correct us with his zooming in or emailing in. They wanted to have some cumulative effects, and they do have concerns regarding all these permits that are doing these reductions from public lands. So you may find that that's something that's quite relevant. I have not seen any of these reductions from public lands be denied that I'm aware of. And again, there has to be a bunch of them that actually were justified to be remained there. But of course, that's something that you guys have been going over the top of. I appreciate the fact that they're getting out of the SMA. I guess it says decommission and restore associated with a natural spring. That's what the natural spring node is. So those are my comments on a nice little project. I don't really have any major concerns, but I really wish you would look at how much propagation was. And I'd also like you to look at what's the impact of somebody having a half acre of gorilla grow out there with no grading, no greenhouses, no generators, and yet you say these big these transfers to the current ones are an improvement. And I would have to disagree. The impact on a lot of those little grows, including this one, which may have been inside that little bit management, is nothing compared to plastic out there. So they give me an opportunity to speak on this particular project.
Thank you, Kent. Would anybody else like to speak on this item? Seeing no more, I will bring this back, close public comment, and bring this back to the commission.
I had a question about, wasn't there a proposal for a well in here also?
There isn't currently a well on site, but they are proposing to drill a well to supplement their water supply.
And how will they power the well with generators?
There's currently a generator on site.
Do they have adequate water storage right now?
They have 11,000 gallons of storage on site currently.
And is that adequate for what they're proposing?
They also have a 250,000 gallon rain catchment pond proposed.
So that's correct. Okay, that's a new project that wasn't there before. The catchment pond.
Done, Peggy?
Yeah.
Okay. Noah?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it may be probing the same question, but I understand that they are proposing a 250,000 gallon pond, but this is permitting existing cultivation, and I was curious to ask staff about basically what Commissioner O'Neill was just getting at, which is that I don't see how they currently have storage for what they're doing right now already. They've only got 11,000 gallons now. Going forward, they're going to be proposing 80,000 gallons of water use a year. I just am unclear how they've been getting by without that storage to date. I guess that's what I'm trying to ask.
I think we could condition it so that the pond goes in before the next rain season.
Yeah, that would help.
Any other questions, or somebody want to make a motion?
All motion to approve the Kinsey Ridge LLC record number PLN 11841 in the Willow Creek area with parcel number 315045004 with the additional condition that the rainwater catchment pond be installed before December 2021.
Well, that's pretty soon. I just wonder if that's feasible.
Not knowing where they are in the process, that might be too short of a time. Staff maybe know where they are in the process of getting permitted for that.
I am not aware of where they are in that process right now.
I would say that at this point, if they have not had engineered designs for that pond, they're probably not going to be able to get that permitted and constructed in time. But I don't know if they've, just like Chair Bongio had said, I don't know where they're at in the process. It might be a question for the applicant if they
That's what
can.
I was just going to ask, is the applicant with us? And I invite them to join us. I just saw a hand pop up, so Geoff Churchill, go ahead. *6 to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Excellent. Thanks, Commission. Thanks for hearing me. To answer a few of the questions, we have been discontinued from cultivation for the past 2 years while we've been trying to get this permit moved forward.
I see.
And the previous water use was trucked into the site, at which point 2017 Planning Department made that not able to happen. At that point, we collected rainwater catchment and kept approximately half of the grow area consistent until we were told that we weren't moving forward fast enough, and we were told we needed to stop for 2 years. So I guess 2018, we stopped for 2 years, and now we're trying to move forward, which the pond has been approved, but as you said, as Cliff said, engineering is not completed. I just contacted today from PE Associates. I'm waiting for an email back, and that was pretty much our plan. As we have seen all of these wells be shut down, all these problems with water, our theory was to get the pond put in this year at any cost. We would love to have a little bit more time, but we understand what the commission will recommend. And but we do need the permit to move forward to be able to construct the pond, as I'm sure Cliff will restate.
Would you be amenable then to a condition that says that it will be constructed within 6 weeks of your permit being received, or?
That's pretty rough, because until I can hear from an engineer, now the pond has already, let me move back a little bit. The pond is underneath an easement we have received, which took 2 months to get the PG&E easement. We have, I don't know if it's in the staff report or not. That all moved forward. Everything has been done by the planning department. All we need is the engineer to come out here and say, hey, you don't need a dam. We don't need a dam at all. We just need, it's probably going to be $2,000 to look at this site and say, you can dig this deep. The soil is stable. We already have a soil stability report on numerous areas on the farm. I think 6 months would be really hard for us. If you could give us a little bit more time, we would really respect that.
Okay, so what do you feel is a feasible time frame?
I feel like, can we say the end of 2022? Basically give us a year and what's left with this year. if we can get an engineer up here this year, that's the way we're going, because we know what's going on with the water situation now. And unless we get this catchment able to catch water, we feel that next year is going to be even tougher. We feel that all these wells are going to start to be attached to subsurface, congruity to other, whether it be creeks or streams or springs. And we feel that the well situation is going to get even worse. So the only way to really do these farms in the future is to collect water. Now if you look at the numbers, we do have small ag buildings on the site, which we've crunched the numbers. We get 6 feet of snow up here and we live here year round. So the numbers crunched at 50 inches a year, which is the numbers that happen up here. We can catch 78,000 gallons a year off of our existing structures.
Okay.
So if we can just get this pond built, which is a pile of money after being shut down for 2 years, because basically we couldn't move forward fast enough with a myriad of different problems, we will have the amount of gallons to proceed the following year.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Then I would say that given that it's clearly Thank you. I would say that given that it's clearly in the applicant's interest to get it in as soon as possible, and they are motivated, I would be okay with changing it to the end of 2022 if the other commissioners are in agreement.
Melanie, how's the rest of the commission feel about that?
I'm in agreement. You can't build anything, because we're already in August, and pretty soon you might not be able to build until next year anyway. So
yeah,
it's better to do it right than to rush it.
So do we have a second then for Melanie's motion?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right, Laura, ask for a roll call vote.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
yes,
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McGaver.
Yes.
Laura, motion carries unanimous. All right. Next item. Canatopia in the Alder Point area. Does anybody care to have this item pulled? See a hand
Chair.
come up?
Chair.
Yeah,
Jeff Churchill was unmuted, but now it looks like he's gone. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So I'd ask for staff report on this one. We have 2 hands come up.
Thank you. Let me get my screen going here. Is that visible to everyone?
Yes.
Thank you. This is the evening commissioner. My name is Cameron Perchio. I'm presenting for Canatopia conditional use.
It's not full.
This is a conditional. Oh, it's not full. Sorry.
There we go.
It's getting there. Well, it's
I'm not sure what's going.
It's showing the next slide.
Through the chair, Cameron, on the display settings, if you could change that to full screen. So right now you're in presenter view. And so we're seeing your notes. So we'd like to just see the slide.
Is that correct?
So right now, you would have to, if you put from the beginning, or if you go to the view menu, you may be able to change it under the view menu.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it.
Push from the beginning. Start. So where you're at right now, from the beginning, it's in the upper left-hand corner of your screen.
I did. Is it a problem with the dual monitor configuration that I'm using?
Yeah, I think so.
Apologies for that. I'm unable to fix this issue at the moment. I'm sorry.
If I may say something on PowerPoint, on the right-hand bottom part, there's a little button with a box and that little dash. That's what you're supposed to press. You're on like the wrong view. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of PowerPoint.
Yeah, go ahead and just tell us about the project or get back to the screen you had. It was just not full, but we could read it.
I'm attempting to. My apologies.
In the meantime, Chair, can I ask a question about the two next things with Canatopia here? Are we going to encounter something like what we had encountered already?
I don't know. I was wondering that myself. I saw that they're both hopefully not. Cliff, do you see any issue with that?
Well, it looks to me like they are completely separate. They do not appear to be proposing any shared features, which is what we ran into last time.
There you go. Just go with that. Whatever that screen is, roll with it.
All right. I do believe these two projects share a water system to some extent. Am I muted? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh, cool. So this is the conditional use permit for Canatopia 11854. The proposed project is the conditional use permit for 20,000 square feet, consisting of 10,000 square feet in 8 greenhouses and 10,000 square feet in full sun outdoor. Drying, harvest, and on-site processing will occur. If market needs facilitate or are necessary, there might be some off-site processing in excess of that amount. It is owner operated and will require no additional employees. And power is currently sourced from 2 generators with a long-term goal of connected to PG&E grid power. Access to the site is via Stewart Ranch Road to Alder Point Road. A road evaluation report for the 0.4 mile section was submitted by the applicant and indicates the road meets category 4 equivalent and is adequate for the proposed use. Conditions include requiring within 1 year of the effective date that the applicant take step to form a road maintenance association. And then this is a site plan. 154 is the lower parcel here. And the adjacent parcel that is the next project on the list, the other Canatopia project, showing the site layout.
You're not changing the slide down to the picture. We're on the first slide.
Apologies, I guess it is sharing the incorrect window. Those details hold true, and I will skip in that one to, this is the site plan. You'll see the lower parcel shows the layout of this one.
It's not showing.
Not showing it, yeah.
Okay. I'm not really sure how to remedy this in a timely manner.
Maybe staff has that.
Maybe it just disappeared. So.
Through the chair, I could share
I stopped.
screen with this site plan. And then perhaps Cameron can continue to talk about the site plan.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And this is just taken from the staff report that's online at the
Thank you, Meg.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. It is the lower of these two parcels is the one we're currently discussing, and you can see the cultivation area on the west portion of the parcel. And there's a well as well. And I believe that was my last slide, so I will wrap it up there. Apologies for all the technical issues on that one.
Any questions for staff?
Yes, I do have a question.
Go ahead, Mike.
My question is concerning the topic of no additional employees beyond the owners and immediate family members. What exactly does that mean?
To my knowledge, my understanding is that there will be no additional paid employees, and everyone who is owner operator will be working there. Maybe Megan can address this better.
I think that captures it well. The agent is in the audience, so when we get to public comment, I think she can clarify how many people. So typically we would include a number of people that will be on site, regardless if they're employed or not.
So workers' comp versus paid employees in some people's eyes is very convoluted. Workers' comp defines just spouse and individual if it's owned by individual. In this case, looking at the ownership, Canatopia, is that an LLC or a corporation or what?
I'll need a minute to check the ownership documents associated with the permit to answer that for you.
That defines then about no immediate family members and workers and that sort of thing.
The agent texted me and said that it is a corporation.
So then by no immediate, just immediate family members, what does that mean then when it's corporately owned?
I'm not certain of the direct ramifications of that. Patricia is available to speak if you would like to address the agent.
We will, if the agent is available right now, we can have her come on, but usually after we ask questions, we have her at the end. Doesn't matter to me. Is she with us? I'm not seeing. Delay? Is that the agent? Okay. Go ahead, Delay.
Hi, this is Patricia Lai. How's it going?
Okay. Good. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
All good. So can we, I'm sorry, what is can we kind of land on what the question is?
The question is, the report says no additional employees beyond the owners and immediate family members will be required for the operation. Since it's a corporation, now that I found that, immediate family members would be they would be considered employees in the state of California's eyes. They would require workers' comp, so there would be additional workers on site. The owners are the only ones that are exempt. So who's all working on the site?
At this point in time, it is the owner applicant, his son, and his partner, wife person, and daughter.
So who are the owners of Canatopia?
It is Tim Clark.
He's 100% corporate owner.
Correct. And so I'm not sure if there's a nuance between those regulations as pertaining to LLCs versus corporations. In multiple, projects that we've put forth here in years past here at Planning Commission, this has been standard language for some of my clients that operate these, this stipulation that it's the LLC or entity owners and immediate family members only. I will say that at the Cal Cannabis level, regardless, they are required to take the Cal OSHA training, regardless of whether they have, whether it's a family farm and they have quote employees, unquote, or whether they have paid employees on payroll like W-2s, versus if it's just a family operation where it's just the family on-site operating. But, through our experiences with Cal Cannabis, we're all operators are required to participate in the 30-hour Cal OSHA safety training.
Right, Cal OSHA safety. Workers' comp is different. Would county council like to weigh in on this?
I don't think I have anything to add at this moment.
About workers' comp and who's considered an employee and who's not?
That's something I would need to look into more specifically.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mike? Okay, Thomas, you've had your hand up, so.
Well, the applicant's agent kind of answered the question, but if the other people were shareholders of the corporation, then I think, as far as I know, they would be exempt from workers' comp. But maybe I'm wrong.
Right, if they were shareholders, but it's 100% according to the applicant's agent.
Yeah, I got that, and I didn't put my hand back down.
So the only non-exempt, everybody else is considered an employee.
If that is the case, based on the current stipulations of the regulations, I think currently the farm is not operational. We are waiting for approval for this to then proceed to state licensing. So, that could be a potential, he could add his family members as shareholders, so they would be exempt from workers' comp. I just want to clarify though, we do stipulate in the cultivation operations plan that we will abide by any and all regulations, and this inclusive, as needed to operate correctly under the ordinance and state and other laws.
Thank you. It's a misconception a lot of the time about family members being exempt from workers' comp when it's corporately owned or different entities. So I just wanted to make sure that that was out there. Since I saw that, I haven't seen it before as much before I just saw that. So thank you.
I have a question. Do we have any concern about who they hire? I mean, they're required to follow labor laws, and that's a separate issue. That's not tied to their permit, is it? I mean, those kids could grow up and they don't want to work there and they want to hire somebody or they want to go on vacation. They should be able to hire whoever they want and just follow the laws.
I think it's about number of people on the site.
Yeah, but they don't have to be family members, right? I mean, that's their business. And if they say I have 7 people, who cares if they're family or they're hired people? They have to follow labor laws, or they could get in violation, but I don't really care who they hire. And I don't think they should be limited by our permit, but
I just brought that up because it's in the report here. And if staff would like to weigh in on that, I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. Through the chair, what we review is the number of people that would be on the site. So that's important for consideration of traffic, parking facilities, making sure that they have adequate restroom facilities and so forth. And so really from a land use perspective, it doesn't matter if they're employees or not, or family members. So I think it's kind of irrelevant to the analysis. What's important is the number of people that might be on site at any given time.
So maybe we should change the reports to reflect numbers instead of a general type of sentence like what we've got here in this.
Yes, I believe most of the reports that we've seen hopefully talk about number of people, and I'm not sure why this one is referring to just family members.
Thomas, I see you have your hand up, and then Noah.
So I just realized I think right once I got appointed to the Planning Commission, I got to do an ex parte disclosure because I had a brief conversation with this applicant in parking lot of the Building and Planning in Eureka. And from my personal take, he's not able to operate, very, very stressed out, and trying to do whatever he can to save his farm. And he's probably trying to, utilize his family, because if they don't make it, then, family is willing to bite in. So I just want to throw that out there. And yeah.
Thanks, Thomas. Noah? Noah, you're up.
Sorry about that. Yeah, just a quick follow-up. I mean, I'm looking at the project description that says operations are conducted by the owners and immediate family members only. No additional employees will be required. And I just want to sort of chime in and say that's descriptive. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's conditioned that it cannot use employees. So, and I think it's helpful to have that information to describe what's currently happening or what's intended, even if that is separate from the condition. So just to be clear, sorry to be back on this one more time, but for Cliff, I guess, there's nothing in the conditions, or is there something in the conditions that would require for all time, for the duration of the permit, that it only use the owners and family members and not ever hire employees? In other words, is that stated as a requirement of the permit, that it not hire employees.
I don't believe that is a condition of approval. Cameron or Megan, you would be familiar with those conditions. I can't imagine that would have been added as a condition of approval.
There's no specific condition of approval stating they could not have employees.
Okay, I mean, that's fine, and that's better that we allow that flexibility for the future. Thank you.
If I can interject one more time here, maybe in the future, if that's going to be a consideration about travel and that sort of thing, we put a little bit more detail into that and know what that is entailing exactly instead of the general term that's put here.
Any other questions for staff? If not, I'm going to open it up to public. Seeing none, I'm going to open this up to public comment now. Looks like we have two. First one is our friend Kent, 7454.
Well, Thomas, I know you met the guy in the parking lot, and there's a whole bunch of people out there in this world in his shoes, and I'm sorry for all of them that this COVID has done that to, and anybody in the business. So they have my sympathy. On the other hand, that's not a reason to drop the correct procedure in things. And Natalie, I really appreciate you, but if your counsel says I can't weigh in, or I'm not going to weigh in at this time, then I would ask to go to outside counsel that is capable of answering your question. I think she is totally capable, but these are things that a normal attorney would have to research and bring back to you. And until you have those information from your counsel, I would be reluctant to move forward. Regarding the question regarding employees here, yes, it definitely is a part of a permit. I am not aware that I have not seen a 1 acre grower close to it, 40,000 square foot. It's able to be handled by 4 people. Normally that would be 8, as I recall, or something twice that amount of people. And little corporations don't have little babies. And I'm not even sure if stockholders, if they're functioning other than a stockholder as an employee, that would be another question for county council or somebody to research, falls under the regular employee thing. I believe that they do. You're permitting for anybody that involves employees, or you change anything, you have ADA requirements, and there's all kinds of parking ADA requirements on these things. The question was raised before regarding the existing well. I think both of these are totally tied at the hip. It appears to me, it doesn't say one has a well and then one has a well on the parcel. I think staff said you have 1 well. So again, you're sharing water between these two. And one of the biggest things you have tied at the hip is long-term plans to connect grid power from PG&E and gas electric when financially feasible. We've already discussed this. I think it's been brought forward by multiple people of you. It's not financially feasible normally to do this. So if you're going to condition this instead, looking toward actually getting rid of those generators, it should happen under these circumstances. You would be conditioning it with solar within 2 years, let's say. And if they're able to get PG&E when financially feasible, probably will never happen, but they would be sharing the same financial feasibility regarding PG&E. So again, I would have to totally disagree with staff that these two projects are not totally joined at the hip. And I do not think that you actually have legal information and a basis for this. The other thing I think on here was what is our ancillary use on this one? I think it's currently at 15%, 3,000 square foot on each of these. So you're at 3,000. That hasn't been brought. Is anybody paying attention to these things? I just wish staff would bring this to you rather than the public having to go through these. And I actually did speak with Cliff about this earlier in the day, and I'm a little bit distressed he did not bring that to your attention during staff report. So even though, as Thomas Mulder says, this could be from 1 to 100%, you do not have any environmental thing that enables you to have ancillary use of 1% or 100%, whether you're doubling your use or you're doing 1%. I'll keep bringing that up on every single project. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ken. Next caller is 7108, Bonnie. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Hi. My concern about this is here's another one, this one and the next one, that in the Alder Point area, which is in a severe drought. And using all this well water, saying they're going to use almost 200,000 gallons, but they only have about 80,000 gallons of storage. That means there's going to be a whole lot of pumping going on. And then there's the generators. You've got them for your, I don't know, all of what they use them for, but having them for processing, I thought if you didn't have power or whatever, that you needed to process somewhere else. So having these generators, to me, is a real problem, with no mention of solar, and pumping out all this water during this drought. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie. Next is 7429. Are you there, 7429?
Yes, hi, here I am. There's a little bit of a delay. That's why that happened.
Okay.
It's difficult to comment on this project without considering its twin that's next on the agenda. And I'd like to suggest that this is an opportunity for your commission to consider addressing the concerns about groundwater pumping without storage, because this applicant could, before planting a crop that needs 199,940 gallons of water, with only the 900,000 gallons stored, they could develop their water storage with their proposed ponds and additional tanks first. This project that you're looking at is already, they say they have storage for 76,900, but the next project, the twin, only has 10,300 gallons of stored water. So that's really not even enough for fire at this point. So I don't see why they would go ahead and develop all their planting before they put their storage in. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this one? Go ahead. You like, Patricia?
Hey, thanks. Okay, to respond to some of these comments regarding the PG&E and generator use, the generator use is quite nominal if they're, and we have to remember that we're in rural unelectrified area. So energy access is huge. I agree that financial feasibility is a contingency. However, the grid is actually quite close to this site. So it's not infeasible. However, you need money to be able to do such things. Without operations, there is no cash flow. Regarding generator use, the operators have been doing this for like 20 plus years. It is relatively environmentally benign. I would be able to provide an energy analysis, including greenhouse gas calculations, to substantiate the amount that's actually used. I will think you will find it to be quite not a significant impact per CEQA. And we would offer to purchase local carbon credits to offset any generator use. With regards to the water and the groundwater, and I do understand, because yes, these are two parcels and they are twins. We have presented a robust water management plan, which includes a pond. However, because this project is encumbered due to cannabis, nothing can occur right now. So where we stand right now, if these projects are approved, then we can go ahead and apply for the pond permit. The pond site is actually an abandoned logging pond site, so the impacts have already been done. Of course, we get an engineering, any biological needed, but it's like the hands are tied. Also, regarding the water storage on the other parcel we're speaking of, the applicant has applied for the equity equity program and has been approved for a grant for additional water storage. As we all know, though, these things take time and money. With regards to the immature plant area, this is a larger issue. And I will just say, Kent, I'd love to talk to you sometime, Bonnie as well, with some numbers. What I would say to this specific in general, we came through this based on using 12-inch pots to reduce labor for transplanting to accommodate. This is based on real life data. But in terms of CEQA, Kent, from a letter from October 18th, 2019, from the county, there was an analysis of an August 2014 aerial, which they found for this particular parcel, there was 38,940 pre-existing square foot. So we are asking for 20,000 square feet and 3,000 square feet of immature plant area. Back to the groundwater, we have a letter from Fish and Wildlife saying from March 2020, and Fish and Wildlife inspected them in February 2020, and they determined that the wells were not jurisdictional. We would love to provide groundwater monitoring and data and present that to you. Again, we are bound by the Water Board as well as all the other regulations to report frequently. And of course, we want to do the right thing for the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. So any other public that wishes to speak? If not, I'm going to close the public comment. I think I already did, but we bounced back and forth. I'm going to bring this back to the commission. We got about 15 minutes, guys, so see if we can wrap at least this one up. What are the thoughts of the commission? Brian, you got your hand up.
Well, just given our experience on the last project, I'd really like us to wait to vote, even if we think we know what we're doing on this one, until we talk about the next one, because it definitely seems like the water, I don't know if the applicant would rather have if we want extra storage to put it on that other project or have it on this one, but we should probably talk about them both. Thanks.
Thank you. Thomas, you got your hand up.
So, question for staff. How long has this project been unoperational, and how long does state licensing usually take? Because if we're trying to promote sustainability, if this has been unoperational for a couple of years, a week's time is a long time when it's the end of the growing season.
Sure. Through the chair, I believe they have been non-operational for a few years now. I don't believe this site ever had an interim permit. And so it's been at least probably 2 or 3 years for them being non-operational.
Any other questions? Brian, was your hand back up? I saw it go away.
Ask about the water storage. Do they have a month by month water budget so that we can understand what the budget is for the forbearance period, so that we can verify that the total water storage they're planning for is sufficient to have all the water they'll need when they can't be pumping from the wells?
Through the chair, Commissioner Mitchell, I could provide you additional information on that. The executive summary in the staff report page at the top of page 4 includes the monthly water budget, which totals 199,940 gallons. Their existing plus proposed storage would total 126,900 gallons, which is approximately 63% of the water they would need for the season. This would cover the end. If you were to look at the driest months of the season, this would cover through at the end of July, August, September, and October. But it is 63. So the storage would cover 63% of their total water use. Only the end of July till October.
And when you're saying total, are you including the other project that we haven't heard about yet?
I am talking about just for this project. There's a well and proposed water storage on this project. The pond is associated with the next project. And so the pond on the next project would provide additional water storage for that project and perhaps here, but that's not the way it's currently presented. As presented for this project, I see that they have 63% of their annual water use covered in the existing and proposed storage, which would cover the driest months of the year.
And is any of that storage proposed to be utilized in the second project?
Not that I see. There
Okay,
would be
thank you.
sufficient water in the pond for this next project to cover the water use on that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff?
If I
Huh?
The following project is proposing to have 260,000 gallons of storage and an identical proposed water use of 200,000 gallons. So it is my understanding that would provide some of the additional storage for this particular project.
So I guess since we're hearing it sounds like we're hearing different answers. Can we have the applicant address that?
The applicant is with us. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Paula.
Hello?
Yes.
So the pond is on, well, the proposed pond is on the other parcel. And we kind of lowball the estimate of what the capacity would be to be conservative. And we estimated the rainwater catchment pond would have a capacity of approximately 260,000 gallons. But, you know, to be conservative, is that correct?
It should be about 400,000.
It's based on the footprint of the existing berms and whatnot. It could be anywhere up to 400,000, but we didn't want to over promise and under deliver.
Sure. So what I'm trying to get at specifically is, will any of the water wells or water storage be utilized for the second project?
The pond is on the second project side. The project that we're talking about now would have adequate water storage with the proposed well along with the existing well.
And the pond.
And the pond.
So again, like, you know, because they are twin, you know, it's a single, it's you know, same owner, etc. They share water resources, particularly because this existing pond site it's already pretty much there. It doesn't hold water, but it's in a desirable location. It will have a low amount of ground disturbance, and that is the diversification of the water portfolio. The applicant is committed to, you know, increasing tank storage piecewise as budget allows. However, as you know, the amount of space required and, you know, and in the particular flat areas that allow for gravity feed are limited once those are maxed out. Rather than creating another disturbance, they can have access to the rainwater pond, the rainwater storage on the other parcel.
Okay, so we're at 9:25. I'm gonna make the suggestion that we bring this project back at the next meeting so that we can have both projects done in the same meeting. I don't think we're gonna complete it tonight anyhow, if we stayed on this one. And maybe staff can do much like they're looking at the one we did earlier tonight, look at the two projects and bring them back more as one project, so we're not going back and forth on these. I don't know exactly why it came to us as two. It sounds like they were started as separate projects, so that's how they stayed. But it sure would make, if they're sharing facilities, it sure would make it simpler to bring it as one project, in my opinion.
So March 19th, Alan?
Not March, I believe, August.
August 19th?
Is that the next? Yeah. Yeah. So August 19th would be the date.
Okay, I move to continue this item to August 19th.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second to do that?
What about the next item too?
We're going to have to continue all of those, but since we're on this one, I think Brian's got the right idea. We need to finalize this one, and then we will have a motion to continue all those.
I'll second it.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion?
Can I go, Chair Bongio?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just for clarification, making this decision to postpone is going to, in my opinion, probably the likelihood of this farmer getting a harvest all this season will be unrealistic if they wait for a state license. Maybe I'm wrong. And the second thing, I'm hearing that projects are going to be conditioned to have 60% of water storage if they're existing, even though this commission has approved new cultivation with storage of maybe 10 to 20%. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. Any more discussion? Okay. We have a motion from Brian, and who was the second? Peggy. So I'll ask for a roll call vote on that. Laura?
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
No.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
No.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Motion carries to continue this to the August 19th meeting. All right, and now we have items number 7 through 13. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 that we need to continue. Do we want to do that to a date uncertain or just to August 19th? Would hope they'd be on the August 19th.
So moved.
Hold on, we haven't.
Yeah, I think we should August 19th.
So to the August 19th meeting. So I'm not even sure who made that motion, but that's to continue items number 7 through, or 8, excuse me, 7 through 13.
I don't want to unnecessarily prolong this, but didn't we hold this meeting to be fair to these people? And by not doing them next week, we're kind of eliminating that.
The problem, the director, it wouldn't be agendized. They've already sent the
I see.
time. That's what the issue is.
Okay.
We could have another special meeting in 2 weeks if it was wanted, but
why not?
Button for punishment. What is it? You know, that's another thought is what's the rest of the commission feel on that?
I feel like we're really kind of backed up now.
Agreed. The staff's talking. Do you think you could get it on the next meeting so it was sooner than the?
So is the 12th available?
That was going to be my next question too, is Mike is asking, is the 12th available to have another meeting to continue these two, that meeting? So we had a meeting that we dealt with these ones that keep getting moved.
I think as long as the commission is available.
I'm not available on the 12th. I could do any other day, but not the 12th.
About the rest of the commission.
I would make myself available. The only thing
Available.
is if that was the choice, those that continued the last meeting to the 19th may want to reconsider moving that to the 12th, but just throwing that out there.
Agreed.
It's my husband's birthday and I'm not going to spend it with you guys.
Oh,
That's a
come
good
on,
choice.
Peggy.
Director, will we have to have a motion on that to go back and change those to get them on that next meeting? That's a good point. We already moved.
I think, and Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they would have to make a motion to rescind the action that they just took on item 6.
Probably another motion for reconsideration.
Do we even have room? I mean, that's 6 items that we've continued. I don't even know if there'd be room to get them on there.
I'll move to reconsider item number 6.
Okay, hold on. They're looking at the calendar to see if they even could do it.
To do the 12th?
For the 12th, they could do it. They're
About moving everything to the 19th, you mean?
no, they could fit it on the 12th.
So, right, we would just need a motion to be taken on, a vote to be taken on in a second, I think, to rescind that action to continue number 6 to the 19th, and then you could take the action on the rest of these 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I just
to
voted it.
Yeah.
August
Yeah.
12th.
Right.
Melanie made a motion to that effect. So,
I will second Melanie's motion to that effect.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Okay, the motion to rescind item number 6. So, Laura, roll call vote.
Wait, Alan.
What?
Number 6 and the motion for 7 through 13?
We have to do them as 2 separate
Do them
ones.
separately.
Okay, separate.
So this is just to rescind item number 6.
Okay.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McGaver,
Yes.
All right, thank you, Laura. Motion carries unanimous. So now we need a motion to items number 6 through, so items number 6 through 13 to the 12th, August 12th meeting.
I'll motion.
So moved.
Melanie, I'm gonna say you were first. You started all this, and I think that was Brian that was the
I'll second.
And can I ask if part of that motion on number 6 was to look at 6 and 7, if I remember correctly?
Those will be brought back as one item for discussion, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So is that everything we have to have motions on? I think we covered everything. Is there anything else that we have to cover tonight? I don't believe so. On what?
Yeah, we need to vote on the motion.
Oh, I thought we just covered. I'm sorry, we had a motion and a second. Laura, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
All right, motion carries unanimous. So with that, is there anything anybody wants to add? Or anything? Otherwise, we are adjourned. All right, good night, everybody. We'll see you on the 12th. 5th, excuse me, the 5th.
Do we
And the
meet in
12th.
person? Do we meet in person, Chair Bongio, on the 5th, or is that still undecided?
No, the way things are going, it's going the other way. In fact, mask mandates start again tomorrow.
Yeah, I read that. So I just was, those of
No.
us are just trying to plan out our schedules.
But that doesn't mean that we can't meet in person.
If they're going to make us go back to wearing masks, I doubt they're going to let us come and be here in a group. I'm just making a guess. Remember the state we live in, people. All right. We are